Good evening, everyone. I will call the July 28th, 2026 regular meeting of the Board of Directors to order. Welcome and thank you to those attending our meeting in person, joining us over Zoom, and those staying engaged by watching our recording at a later time. The public is reminded that if they wish to speak during community comment, they will need to fill out a speaker form located in the back of the boardroom on the table to my left and turn it in to our board secretary, Kim Coven, who is seated at the end of the board, who will be seated soon at the end of the board table. Comments will take place during the designated community comment portion of our agenda. And before we get into tonight's agenda, I want to take a moment to introduce those seated at the board table with me. To my right, I would like to introduce and welcome our interim superintendent, Amy Courtmeyer. This is her first meeting. She started with us on July 1st. Welcome. We have Director Eastham. To my left, we have Vice President Abraham, Directors Finch, Lingo, Board Secretary Coven, and joining us over conference phone, we have Directors Horn, Frazier, and Williams. And with those introductions, I will call for a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
So move.
Second.
Board Secretary, ready to vote?
Just a second, I gotta get the. Online voting is open.
It didn't pop up for me, Kim, so I'm a yes vote.
Thank you. All votes have been cast and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Thank you. That takes us to community comment. Thank you for your interest in the Iowa City Community School District and for your willingness to share your comments. You are reminded to give your name, address, and topic on which you plan to speak about. During community comment, persons may speak to the board about topics relevant to the district. Speakers who make comments are reminded they are responsible for their own statements and may be subject to legal action for those which include hate speech and that are threatening, harassing, or defamatory in nature. It is expected that speakers will address the board and each other with civility and abide by the stated time limits. All community comment directed at non-agenda and agenda items will take place at the beginning of the meeting and will be limited to 4 minutes per speaker and 5 minutes for speakers who has the assistance of an interpreter. Speaker's time limit will be displayed on the iPad on the ledge in front of Secretary Ms. Coven, and an alarm will sound once the speaker's time has expired. The initial community comment period will be limited to an hour, and remaining community comment, to the extent necessary, will take place at the end of the meeting. The board will not engage in any discussion during public comment. The role of the board during this time is to listen. Any individual who does not abide by these rules or otherwise disrupts the meeting may be asked to leave and or referred to law enforcement. And with that, our speaker for tonight, David Norpier.
Good evening. Ms. Courtmeyer, I'm going to speak to you directly. We've had problems for the last 15 years. We've spent hundreds of millions of dollars, billion plus, and our test scores have stayed stagnant or gone down. Our rankings have gone down. 2025, half of our schools went down. People of Iowa are not appreciative of the fact that their tax dollars are not showing any type of direct benefit. We need intelligence, and we need new ideas. Back in 2018, I approached Mr. Adam Kurth and Diane Schumacher with some very real concerns about the use of screens in our schools. At that time, I brought with me a curated display of 20 different research articles from very respected research journals that showed the physical issues that were associated with developing minds using screens. Adam Kurth and Diane had absolutely no interest in reviewing that material. They asked no questions. That material was curated by a pediatric specialist at the hospital who had had 11 years of training post-college, had trained at the best institutions in the country, and was currently writing national healthcare protocol. That information got bumped up, and as I reached out and asked the district to create a community group of health providers and parents and other professionals to address the issue, I received the following response. We are operating on a best practice from educational research. This educational research community has not raised alarms about screen time in the educational setting. As such, we do not have plans to move this discussion to a committee. Do you know who wrote that? You did. There were over 50 current journal articles in educational journals questioning the use of screens in education. Countries like Sweden and France and Japan were actively addressing this issue. Healthcare providers were very concerned. For over 10 years, research had shown that children who read off of screens function more poorly, that their reading comprehension is affected, that it also impacts mental health. It impacts so many different things. And all of that information was simply deflected because our administration knew better. Adam Kurth knew better than pediatric specialists. What I'm going to ask you to do is to please change your attitude, to open your mind, to try to seek information. We have an incredible group of people in this community. They have come up here week after week after week trying to share information about financial issues, about screens, about a lot of other issues in our schools. We have incredible teachers who have amazing ideas. Please welcome these people into your office. Please seek information. And please let's move forward in a better direction. Thank you.
Thank you. That was the only community comment that I had. Just want to make sure we didn't miss anyone. Okay. Moving on, that takes us to tonight's consent agenda. But before we get there, were there any questions regarding the bills that people reviewed? Hearing none, are there items that people would like to pull from tonight's consent agenda? I will go ahead and say that I would like to have item 12, the 2026-27 student fees pulled. Directors.
I'd like to pull item 26, the partnership with CCA.
I'd like to pull number 19, the Zello contract, and number 22, the Project Skyward MOU. Please and thank you.
I'd like to pull item 10, the personnel agenda.
Are there any others?
I'm interested in pulling number 18, the Renaissance Star Assessment.
Any others?
I think this is a record number of polls.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
Hearing none, I would entertain.
I'm sorry, President Malone, I'm sorry, I cited the wrong item. I would like to pull number 22.
Director Lingo already pulled number 22.
Okay, sorry, I apologize.
So you don't want to pull number 18?
No,
Okay.
thank you.
So is there a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda minus item 10, 12, 19, 22, and 26?
So moved.
Seconded.
Secretary Coven, ready for a vote?
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor. Director Malone, I didn't
Yeah,
get
no,
you.
I was
Sorry,
like,
I missed you.
that's odd, because I didn't, it didn't pop up. Sorry.
How would you like to vote?
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you,
Now all cast has been voted and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
thank you. All right, that takes us to item number 10, the personnel agenda. Director Horn Frazier.
Thank you, President Malone. I just wanted to note that under the personnel agenda, there is a section that has a lot of extra service resignations that I was curious to know more about, and I wanted to share that this is something that is being an action that was taken in response to our budget reduction efforts earlier this spring, looking at opportunities to make some cost savings that would not be directly affecting students. And this is specifically, there were core content specialists, curricular advocates, and HRS lead teachers that had extra duty assignments there. And so in inquiring about this, the team shared that this coming year would be some opportunity to look at the functions that were being performed by those staff in those roles and see how there may be other ways to go about doing that, perhaps through curriculum time on Thursdays and as different aspects of curriculum and the HRS program are evaluated over the coming year. And I know that in talking with people at the buildings, there's a lot of support that happens outside of the classroom, and so I am glad to know that it's not just that these roles are being cut or eliminated for now, but rather there's also going to be some evaluation and brainstorming about how to meet those needs in other ways going forward. And I just thought that was important information to share. But I do not have an opposition to approving that agenda item.
Okay. Thank you. Were there any other questions or comments regarding tonight's personnel agenda? Hearing none, is there a motion?
I move that we approve the personnel agenda. Sorry.
Second.
Board Secretary Coven, ready to vote?
Online voting is open. Director Eastham, did you vote?
I think I did.
How would you like to vote? You didn't register.
Yes.
Thank you. All votes have been cast and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Thank you. That takes us to item number 12, the 2026-27 student fees. My question actually goes with a sort of comment that we received from a staff member that, one, the reduced rates were not printed on the document tonight. And my question was, can someone share what would a family need to do in order to get those fees waived if they could not afford to cover even a reduced amount?
Yeah, so if they weren't a direct certification, they'd work with our nutrition services department to fill out a fee waiver form. And our SFAs all have that information to point families in those directions. So,
Great, thank you.
Thank you for pulling that. I think another concern is that on the document, it says something different, what the percentage you would be responsible for than it does in our actual policies. So I don't know if we need to change the document or we need to look at the policies and,
yeah.
and change the policies.
Yep, we're going to bring that back to you.
You're going to bring that back? Okay, great. And then I did have one more question on the fees. You know, obviously every year we go up a little bit. I noticed that the fees for music concerts kind of more than doubled, I believe. So I was just curious about the reason for doing that.
That was born out of a discussion CFO Moore and I had with our secondary leaders that we actually hadn't been charging for our music concerts, and that was something they wanted to revisit as probably something we needed to do going forward to help support those programs. So currently the practice has been a free will donation either to the program itself or the music auxiliary. So that we had that line on the fees that had been approved year after year. It just wasn't
Okay.
being used, and so they wanted to
Sure.
now utilize it and increase it.
Okay, makes sense. It was a nominal cost, and so I was just curious what the thought process was there. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, is there a motion?
I move to approve item number 12 on the consent agenda.
Second.
Thank you. Secretary Coven, ready for a vote?
Online voting is open. Director Easton, yours didn't come through. Oh, there it is. All votes have been cast and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Thank you. That takes us to item number 19. Director Lingo.
Just had some questions for Carmen, I believe, because she's the one who mentioned. So it's the Zello College Career and Future Readiness Platform Renewal Agreement. The contract is for $150,000 over 3 years. This is a software expense, right? So that
Correct, yes.
so that would fall under what account does that come out of?
Sorry, this comes out of curriculum.
Which one?
It is our curriculum account.
Okay, so PEPL is the one that, or how do we pay? General fund or, okay, general fund. In this software, because I've heard a few people talk about it, it's been talked to me for a while. Does the software and curriculum include things like career investigations, connections, and intentions to help students understand their career pathway better? Is that the purpose of it, or?
Correct, and it's also part of our DCAP plan, so by the state we're required to choose one curriculum resource that we can use for our DCAP, and this is the one that our team selected.
So it can help satisfy the requirements under like House File 316 that added 5th and 6th grade and 7th and 8th grade.
At the bare minimum, basic level, yes.
Yes,
We always try to do more activities to expand that for students.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that because just looking at other expenses throughout the process.
Were there any additional questions or comments? Hearing none, is there a motion for item number 19?
I move that we approve item 19 on the consent agenda.
Seconded.
Thank you. Secretary Coven, ready for a vote?
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Thank you. Next up would be item number 22. I believe that's also Director Lingo.
Yes. I'm just pulling this because I'd like to have a presentation to better understand the program and the plan around it before wanting to vote yes on it. Yeah, I can make it pretty short too. I mean, it applies to some of the most vulnerable early readers on a computer for 20 minutes a day. And there are questions of teacher autonomy and parent choice within the document when it comes to computer time, and added in that teachers are restricted to an hour of screen time every day starting this year. I'd just like to see a presentation on it before voting on the program.
I'd agree with that. I'd like to table this so that we can have more information, given all of the concerns that we're having about technology in the classroom. This adds additional 20 minutes. Lots of questions. I've been fielding lots of questions. I know we got some emails as well. So if it's possible, I'd like to just bring this back at another meeting with a presentation so we can ask a few more questions, understand it more in depth.
That does, go ahead.
I'm going to look at the team, but I think we have time to do that. Eliza?
Yeah, we do also have Carolyn Brown from Foundations in Learning over here in the audience. So if you have preliminary questions this evening, that she is welcome to the podium to answer any specific questions that you have about the MLU at this time. Consider asking the questions and
Yeah, is this a,
at that point if you want to have a further presentation.
So if people have questions tonight, but I think the item that we need to decide if folks want to table it and have a full presentation later.
I see. That would be my preference.
Okay. So that sounds like that was the only reason why it was pulled, and so I would entertain a motion.
I move that we table item 22, Project Skyward.
Second.
Board Secretary Coven, ready for a vote?
Online voting is open. And the motion is to table item 22.
Mine didn't pop up, so I'm going to say yes.
Thank you. All votes have been cast and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Okay, and that takes us to the last item that was pulled, and I believe that's item number 26. Director Finch.
Thank you, President Malone. I'm just pulling this to highlight this. I wanted to just give a shout out to the team. In the spring, we had an exceptional high school student from Liberty reach out to the team. She had been taking agriculture classes through CCA and had kind of been mentoring some underclassmen on doing the same. She was really involved in FFA, and you know, this was going to be her career, and learned that other underclassmen weren't aware of everything that we have to offer through our partnership with CCA. So she reached out. I had a discussion with her, and then she reached out to the team, and they were incredibly responsive and have now put that on our website. So I just wanted to highlight the fact that these offerings now are on our website. And Carmen, I don't know if she was busy at work on this, so I don't know if you want to add any information for the public.
Apologize, I'll use my teacher voice for a minute until I can get this turned on. If you're ready to go to the website, it's just under our career clusters, and students can access it from the agriculture link, and it opens up to 3 different pathways. We offer environmental science, food science, and veterinarian. And so we've been having this partnership with CCA for a couple of years now to where our students can go there and take these classes. And we're hoping just with the new Farm to School grant that we're also starting at the middle school, we can expand the offerings for students to be able to do more of these.
It's really an enriching experience for our students, so I'm really grateful that you put the work into that, so thank you.
Are there any additional comments or questions? Hearing none, is there a motion?
I move that we approve item 26. Second. Okay.
Second.
Thank you. Board Secretary Coven, ready for a vote?
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Okay, that's the end of all the items pulled from tonight's consent agenda, and that will take us to our policy review. There is a long list that I will turn it over to Director Lingo, who chairs Policy and Governance.
Thank you, President Malone. So I will try to go through the order that it's listed on the board agenda instead of the one that we did in the committee. So we'll start with the 503. It's 503.01, which is student conduct, defines the removal of students from the classroom. 503.11. First, I should start by this as a cluster of policies that are a result of Senate File 2498. So the first one was, I already went through that, 503.11, disruptive behavior. Requires students, our school districts to establish an oversight committee responsible for developing a policy governing the readmission of students after removal from the classroom. This is sample policy framework. We talked about this one in particular a little bit because the committee will have 2 teachers, 1 admin, and 1 mental health, 1 administrator, and 1 mental health interventionist. We are slowly learning of what this will all entail, and they will have they'll provide recommendations. And if I mess up on any of this, Superintendent Kortmeyer, please, please interrupt me. So then we moved on to 503.11R2, disruptive behavior regulation for students with an IEP, and 603.03, special education. Well, that one is special provisions for students with IEP. And then 603.03, which is special education policies, clarifies which certain school employees have access to a student's IEP as necessary to support. Its implementation outlines employees' responsibility regarding use and compliance with the IEP's requirements. Some other things that came up with removal from classroom. Elementary student is removed for 30 minutes, and as opposed to the secondary student, it's a full class until the next day. So there's questions of, there's things that are still, rules that are still getting made out of Des Moines. So that one creates an issue where, say, a student gets removed in period 1, and then they have the class with the same teacher later on that day. What does that mean? Then there are new responsibilities for the board that the committee, everybody in P&G and those that came to listen in the wings, they had questions on, which is a new responsibility for the board, that if a student has to be removed from a building, because that is a distinct possibility of happening more often. And but a lot of this comes down to the law was passed last month, or went through. It was passed, but formally became effective July 1, and then the Department of Ed has to make the rules and the regulations surrounding that. So I'll stop here and see if there's any questions. I know most of the people here were, but again, this is policy made in Des Moines that we are instituting as a public school district in Iowa.
Mitch, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead, Charlie.
I just wanted to reiterate the comment I tried to make at the P&G Governance Committee. These are changes to how students, what might happen to students who engage in certain types of unwanted conduct, but they do not affect the current approach of this district to students who are in that situation. That is, we still can prioritize restorative approaches to students to help them through issues, as well as provide a great deal of support for social, emotional, related matters with each student. So to me, I'm trying to make clear in my own mind as a board member that we are not being required to do things by the state that we prefer to continue to do.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you, Charlie. Moving on to, these are some policies that are going to be on tonight's board agenda, which is the 8th grade athlete sports, or 8th grade athletes being able to play varsity sports in high school. And the policies themselves, 504.06 is the student activity program. This all came out of House File 2591. And it provides the option for districts to allow 8th graders to participate in interscholastic athletic contests and competitions at the high school level. From my understanding, I'm just going to let Executive Director Degner fill in how we are doing that in Iowa City Community School District, so I do not say anything wrong.
No problem. Thanks, Director Lingo. So there's two main categories we're looking at for your approval tonight with the guideline that's in front of you in the policy. And one we've framed as exceptional athletic ability. And so ahead of every season, the high school coaches would hold a tryout for interested 8th grade students, and then those 8th grade students, if selected for exceptional athletic ability, would be selected onto a varsity team. The other determination the high school coach will make in conjunction with the athletic director and building principal would be if there is a numbers concern at one of the lower level high school teams. That determination would be made ahead of time of the tryouts, and then an appropriate number of 8th grade students would be selected to help support numbers at the lower level of our high school athletic teams. The team was very careful to consider that the intent is not for 8th graders to come to the high school level and take away playing time from freshmen or sophomores, or kind of create a difficult situation there and have some additional conflict. So it's really intended to serve those students that could compete at the varsity level, or to make sure we can field appropriate teams with sufficient numbers throughout our athletic menu.
Thank you. And like, oh, yeah, go ahead.
Can I just say, I really appreciate the thought that went into this. It's a real balanced approach, and I'm pleased with the outcome, so thank you for that.
Thanks.
That leads us into 504.06R1, which is the athletic participation of high school athletes, which was kind of gone all over already. So those will both be up for a vote today because, as Director Williams pointed out in email, at the end of this week, it's the end of dead week and sports start Monday. So if you are on dead week, I hope you are having a good rest. Coaches and athletes listening in. Probably more coaches than athletes, but you know. Moving on to 700 policies. This has been reviewed since March, so we are finally getting to voting to it tonight. Reflects policy primer edits for the 700 series as well. No changes from the last policy and governance committee meeting. Then we have the policy primers. This was the second review. A lot of those concentrate on the 700 series that I went through line by line last meeting. So I'm going to save some time. Then we went to 303.2 administrators qualifications, recruitment and appointment. Changes from the last meeting were the second paragraph. Board members shall participate in the interview process for executive cabinet level positions, may participate in central office and building principal lead interviews, principal interviews. Procedure section added. Up to 2 board members may participate in the interview committees of the executive cabinet level positions. Board will have 48 hours to provide questions about recommended candidates, the executive level positions, central office administrator positions, or building lead principal positions before the job is offered. And we did some review on from legal counsel on this to shore up a few things, and it included removing one part of the document.
There was some prior discussion of if board members participate in the interview of recusing themselves. Is that the part?
Yes, that's the
okay.
part that I believe the language was, it's not written here, but because it will depend on specific situations, was the fear of Allers and Cooney. So, any other questions, comments, thoughts? Okay.
All right. Thank you, Director Lingo. That takes us to tonight's discussion items, and the first item up is the interim chief financial officer's final report. Welcome, and this will be your last time in front of us. Yes. Wherever you feel more comfortable. Since that is an open seat, so if you're presenting, if you feel comfortable sitting there, go right ahead.
Well, thank you for having me back. I'm sure you've all read the report that I've put together. It's taken quite a while, but I've tried to summarize all my observations during the time I was here at the district. Most of these items on here, they are not new. We have discussed them before in my weekly reports and the board meetings as well, too. I view this report as a roadmap for the staff to use and to assist with the progression that needs to be continued in order to advance the district forward. And these will help eliminate any other shortcomings for the financial systems so they do not occur in the future. Most of the improvements can be done now that we're in the new fiscal year for 2027 and going forward, but I feel most of these could be done in the 2027 calendar year. So therefore, when you see the 25 and the 26 audits, you're not going to see things corrected at that point because that's behind us. We have to look forward and what can be done going forward. Also, during this time at the district, I did not see any fraud or any steps that were taken to cover up. I believe that also with your new auditors in place, they were able to review and audit the 24 financial statements and their ongoing audit for the 25, and they have instilled confidence that even though there were many inconsistencies and unreconciled statements, they did not find any fraudulent activity either. So that's kind of my opening, and then I'm going to give you a chance to ask any questions you might have.
Directors, I will open it up.
I don't think I have any questions because I think you've answered them all. I was really impressed with your report in its detail and its comprehensive scope and its approach to providing guidance for how we can go forward. So really thank you for being here and for all the work that you've done so far.
Thank you.
I just had a quick question regarding the tax filings and follow-up on the penalties. And just to get your professional opinion, how likely is it that we could be refunded the penalties? Have you seen that before in your?
I've seen it.
Okay.
It's slim to none.
Okay.
Thank you for all the work that you did for us over the last 6 months. So you said that there was no evidence of fraud, and then later on in your report, you again reiterated, as you had said to us before, about the forcing of the car. And I fielded some questions from constituents who are kind of confused about how those two statements reconcile each other. And I know we had a discussion about this, and I just wonder if you could explain to the public what the difference is about those two things, the presence of fraud and the forcing of the car, because I think there's some confusion about what forcing the car means.
Sure. Well,
Okay.
if you look up the definition of fraud, because I did, so a fraud is an intentional act of deception and for financial gain or personal gain. With that hard definition of fraud, and you look at what the car was done, there was no deception and there was no fraudulent act of personal gain, monetary or not. It was basically inconsistencies and unperformed reconciliations that led to probably the forcing of the car.
Okay. And the difference is intent. Is that correct? Okay.
Intent.
All right. Thank you.
And I guess the question to me, and you don't have to, I'm thinking aloud right now, but if the intent is to keep one's job by your books not balancing, there's a question in there that, anyway, but that's for lawyers to decide. Your report indicates that the evaluations were not completed in the business department. What percentage of the business department would you say had evaluations completed?
None.
0, okay. It's pretty, and since this has been discovered, what has been set up to make sure evaluations are completed? Yesterday I got a ding in my work box saying your evaluation is due in 30 days. So that's the normative expectation that I have of an institution that's 500 employees, and when I look at us, we're how many? 1,500 at least. So has anything been set up to make sure that we were getting those done by the time you left?
Before I answer that, I'm going to say typically reviews are done, evaluations are done annually, and I think I stated that. However, too, you need to be evaluating, communicating to your staff, you know, right on the spot. If somebody does something good, let them know, you know. If somebody is not doing something good, let them know as well, too, right on the spot, because then you stand more of a chance of correcting that going forward. I'll let Pat, over there, our new CFO, probably explain a little bit more how she's taking care of that going forward.
That's a great question, Director Lingo. So I think the first part that Kim hit on is, first of all, meeting with the employees, setting expectations. I have one employee that I'll evaluate, and the controller has the other ones to evaluate. So again, it's setting the expectation. What does the job description say? Setting the expectations of the job, and then going forth, what is the expectation of the job? I'm one of those constant communications as far as if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, that's great. If not, let's have those conversations. So that's a great question. That's something that's on the docket that absolutely needs to be done on an annual basis as well. So it helps not have to bring Kim back.
Thank you very much, Pat, for that response. I have also noticed in the report here that there's a good deal of discussion about providing training and guidance for current employees, new employees, so forth, and the reason for doing that, the value of doing it. And I'm really glad to see that as being part of your future intent and work. Evaluating employees is important. Providing guidance and resources they need to do their job is also important.
Can I add something? At the very beginning, the day one when I walked in here, I said, we're an education institute. We need to be educating and training our staff like we do our students. So I think that's part of the whole mix.
That's a great analogy.
It is. Thank you. Any additional questions, comments? I want to thank you for your time.
Wait, I think we have.
Sorry.
The other directors have covered the questions and primary comments that I had, so I just want to add my thanks to Interim CFO Michael Lee for all of your work, and also I appreciate the manner in which you've communicated your findings in this report. It's just very direct, very matter of fact, very practical, and I am also encouraged to see that your findings and recommendations are, you can see clear through line into our new CFO, Pat's documents and work, and that's encouraging to me, and I just want to thank you for helping us get our footing and be heading in the right direction.
Thank you.
I will just say I'll echo those comments from Director Horn-Frazier. Thank you so much again, and best of luck to the next district you head to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Next up, we will move on to our Chief Financial Officer update, CFO Moore. Oh, okay, everybody's frozen. Woof.
Something's happening.
Yeah.
There it goes.
Looks
We're
like
back in
this is gonna be the
business.
spot. Okay, cool. Good evening. Well, I have the fun part of following Kim Michael Lee. She spent a lot of time in the district and talked about a lot of the things that went wrong in the district, right? We talked about segregation of duties. We talked about lack of oversights, bank reconciliations, cash, all that. So I get to follow up with the fun part and say, here's the things that are going right in the district, and here's the things that we're working on. Oh, I probably need my screen. Go
No,
over there.
to control your presentation.
Yeah, that's fine.
Only at the podium.
I gotta go. Get excited, I gotta sit there. Got it, cool, okay. Okay, up here, you're gonna see the CFO report. Keep in mind, all of these numbers are preliminary. I'm gonna say that multiple times during our discussion. Reason being is we're on modified accrual accounting at the end of the year. And for those that may not know what that is, at the end of the year, our books stay open for 60 days. So until the end of August, we're recognizing revenue and expenditures that attribute to FY '26. So for example, two big ones I can think of, expenditures. Teachers start getting paid in September and their final paycheck is August. July and August is actually happening now, which is in fiscal '27. So there's a procedure called expensing payroll. Those expenditures then go back to FY '26, so the expenditures hit the books in '26. So that's part of that process. Receipts, same thing. Large one I can think of is July 15th is the due date for us to send out tuition billings to school districts for special ed tuition. So on the night of July 15th, they sent out roughly about $840,000 worth of bills. When those start coming in, those will be recognized back to FY '26. Cash deposit here, revenue back here. So keep that in mind as we look at the CFO report. Another thing to keep in mind as we're looking at the report, there are no beginning or ending fund balances. Reason being is part of Kim Michael Lee and we're in the middle of an FY '25 audit. So until that is actually finalized, I didn't feel comfortable putting numbers out there that I could not fully support. So those are not up there. This is cash basis only. So we're gonna start on the left-hand side. First place, obviously I'm guessing, no you guys, first place you went to was all the reds. That's where and I can see Director Lingo laughing over there. So yes, I know that. Okay, so general fund wise, we can see the difference between the revenue and expenditures is roughly 7.4 million. I will point out to you, remember we did property sales, which we put into the general fund, which was roughly about 6.5 million. So subtract that off the 7 and that's potentially where we'd be without that. Activity fund, red number, 569,000. We came to you a couple of months ago and talked to you about the activity fund and the strides we're trying to make within the activity fund now, so that is problematic, but we're working on that piece. Save, we see a very large red number there. You guys have talked with PFM, Suzanne Gerlach has been here to talk, Kurt and I have talked to you about the save expenditures and what that basically means for FY '27 and moving forward. The only revenue and expenditures that will be coming out of the save account will be the principal and interest due for save revenue bonds. Things that were potentially in save, we're pushing over to PEPL or into general funds, so keep that in mind. There's a lot of switching of expenditures going on. Another large red one, actually two out there, the insurance fund, which would be the medical and dental. Cash purposes only, again, keep that in mind. So those are discussions with the insurance committee as far as what those rates would look like for FY '28, since FY '27, we're already in those right now. Are there questions that I can specifically answer about this? Keep in mind, this is going to evolve. This is very basic. This is not what I want you guys to see. So we're going to keep working on this. And I think once the Finance Oversight Committee gets up and running, that's going to be another conversation of what the best document is to bring to you. So it's not only user-friendly, but everybody understands everything that's on it.
This is probably a silly question. Thank you, Pat. But on the general fund, down where it says support services, which seems to be a category, you have 19,821. And it seemed out of place, kind of like a typo, because the other headers for categories didn't have anything behind it. So I was just curious.
Which one you're looking at? Sorry.
So in the general fund column,
Yep.
down to support services,
Yep.
where it says 19,821. It's under a category rather than,
I am totally missing it.
Your salary and benefits,
yeah,
because support services covered.
salary, benefits, instruction, total instructional salaries, then support services. Just go up 5. There you go. Right
Oh, there we go. Jeez. Wow. I would not be able to answer that question right off the cuff. I would assume that should have been pulled into the following cell to that. So that is a great question. I will find out the answer to that. I'm assuming that that needs to go into the 8.3. That's right underneath that.
Okay.
But I will find to verify. Thank you for that question and clarification.
Additional questions, comments from directors?
What exactly does the negative in the medical and dental mean? Because I heard you could comment on it. I just would like a little more clarification because I'm sure there's people that are wondering the same.
Absolutely. That just simply means for payroll purposes, for the fiscal year '26, the amount of revenue that came into that fund, the claims against that exceeded.
So where do we pay for that from?
Actually, within the same fund. So when I said there were no fund balances listed up top, so if there's a beginning fund balance, there's more funds in there. This is cash purposes only. Sorry, I should remind you again. Cash purposes only right here. It's a great question, though.
So we're in good shape if that beginning balance is higher than 5.7 million.
That would be correct.
Dental is a little less scary, but.
Also, Pat, that brings
For
us,
that question, I had a similar question just about the food service deficit. Is that possibly starting from a larger balance too?
That is correct. There is a healthy fund balance there. Also, we did some sizable increases for the staff this past year, as well as we've done some equipment maintenance and updates to that. So that would be the expenditures on that side. Great question, though.
Thanks for clarifying.
Absolutely.
so Pat, I assume that there are no unposted significant expenditures for this report.
Everything, as this report was ran Thursday evening, as of that point, everything had been posted. Keep in mind, though, we do have another 30 days. So until the end of August, our books are open. So if there should be any invoice that comes in for services that were performed prior to June 30th of 2026, those will get posted to FY26. So that's why I say this is a very preliminary report.
Okay, fine, thank you.
Great question, thank you.
Are you moving on to the audit
I am.
next? Okay, wonderful.
And I think this was Director Williams that had asked for this, and I really like the format where it's pretty much close to what Kim Michael Lee was, where it talks about each of the audit findings and where we are in the process. I was just going to hit on a couple unless you have specific ones that you want to talk about. Were there any specifics that you had, Director Finch?
No, I just had a general question. I was wondering if we could add a couple of columns, if we could, if you think that would be a good idea. I would like to have a column that stipulates accountability, whether that's an individual or a team, so that we know so that we know who's responsible for that task. And it doesn't have to be an individual, it could be perhaps a team. And then also a target deadline where appropriate. Not all of these you would need that, but where appropriate, I think those two columns would be nice.
Thank you. I can definitely add those.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any ones that you want me to hit on specifically? I was just going to kind of go over them quickly because I know we've talked about these a lot. As far as just insufficient segregation of duties, we talked about payroll cash receipting. We have a lot of things ongoing. Our payroll department uses a software specific where everything is out there as far as the timetable for the actual deadlines for the payroll, and they're checking off as each person does those. We have multi-step requisition approval processes as far as for cash disbursements. We have held meetings internally as far as the activity fund. We've talked a lot about that, so there's a lot of things going on there. I'm flipping through these, so if somebody looks at something and says, address it, please let me know. Instances of non-compliance, the first one about the audits. So 23 and 24 have been done. We are in the process of 25. August 10th, the week of August 10th, the auditors will actually be in the office for the week for the last piece of field work, and we are still on target to have the audit to you in November. Student Activity Fund deficit and balances, same thing. We have met with the ADs. Kurt and I met with the ADs, and then our assistant controller also met with the ADs and their secretaries. So we're going through a lot of processes with them. I think this first year, the main part is making sure that we have things coded appropriately as far as revenue and expenditures, and just a better understanding of everyone involved for the activity fund. That's our main goal, and then obviously we need to start to discuss the deficit balance and how we're going to get those taken care of. And I'll go to significant deficiencies, I believe on page 3, lacks process for report preparation and review. We now have multiple district employees that are involved in reporting processes, so it goes from step A to step B to step C. So there's a definite deadline for something, who does it, marks it off, goes to the next person. So there's a definite, and the calendars across everywhere have deadlines for all of the reports that are out there right now, so we don't miss any deadlines. And I will say, as we look at this, which Kim Michael Lee stated tonight, 25 and 26 audit aren't going to look any different. So we're probably just going to start adding to this. So it's going to be a culmination of the 24, 25, and 26 audits all in one document. But I will add on the suggestions that Director Finch has.
And then this will be part of your monthly report to us. Just
I would
to
plan
show-
on doing so unless you say otherwise.
Nope, that's a good plan.
The last piece was just this one here, as far as, this was Kim Michael Lee's baby right here, as far as the bank statements, the investments, and where we're in the process. If there's questions, I'm happy to answer them. This is just basically updating hers and putting it on letterhead so we could see it. And I will continue doing that until our processes are all up in sync where they need to be.
Go
Just
ahead.
have some overall questions. So some of these I sent ahead of you. There's a couple in here that I figured out later, so I apologize. The current UAB, what is the percentage for FY26? What are we sitting at?
Kurt and I worked on this afternoon. We're about in a 3% range.
So 3%.
And we're hoping 27 would be about that same. What we want to do is, we don't want to do any of this. We want to do this and then start to build on that. So
Okay.
in the 3% range right now.
So that's what my question was for FY27. For FY27, the project, this is one that I added in because I know we were already there in FY26, but for the projected UAB, did we cut enough to make sure that our balance would not be negative without the categorical balances?
That we're going to be working on. Actually, we've got another month. So with the books being open another 30 days,
Okay.
Mr. Pratt and I are going to be working on that to ensure that categoricals, if needed to be, we can push things over to there. That's a great
Okay.
question, though.
It's just, I prefer us to have as few visits to SBRC as possible. That's what it comes down to. And do you have an update on how the state will approach the overspending in construction? Because we talked about that a little bit last time.
Yeah, I
and
don't think
audit.
there's going to be a state discussion per se. I think if we looked at, if our audit, if we would happen to go over in the other category, which would be like facilities and construction, that is a note on the audit, but there is no sanctions, no anything like that. It is just noted on the audit, and then obviously, as I spoke earlier with the SAVE account, since we did overspend, some of those expenditures are now having to go over to PEPL and potentially general fund, so it's kind of that rolling effect of overspending. So we're kind of, as far as SAVE, we don't have a lot of movement right now.
The overspending is, it hurts us through its own action, is what you're
Correct.
getting at. Then, do we have the update on the number of interfund loans and the total cost, or when is that projected to be done from, or is that a work in progress that requires the next audit to be
Yeah,
finished?
we're definitely a work in process on that. I'm not trying to put you off at all, but that
Yeah.
is definitely a work in process and a puzzle that we've got to put clarity to.
And has there been any more discussions between you and the SBRC since the audit was given to you, or you gave them the audit?
No, there is not. I sent them the morning after the board meeting to Cassandra Klein. I did receive an email back on July 1st. Took a while, but she's busy. Got back, just thank you very much. I assume no conversation probably is needed at this point unless they would have questions, but I've not heard anything.
And thank you to you and Kurt, alongside the others that have been working on setting up the coding, because it does not sound like a fun, exciting process, but it needed to be done. So
It's all
thank
good.
you.
Do you want to add that we did receive that email, though, about what documents they would want for them?
Superintendent Courtmeyer had said we just wanted to update you that we did get information from the SBRC as far as required documents that are going to be needed for our October appearance, and we'll have those, I believe, end of August they are due. We'll have those taken care of and sent off.
Quick question about the lacked processes to document the special ed high cost. I know that you have listed that you met with the special ed director in HR to discuss issues on coding, but was there any other discussion on tracking how that number doubled between years? Like, what are we doing differently so we don't see a significant jump? it might not necessarily be tied to this audit finding, but kind of is maybe.
We had just initial conversations, which was around the coding, which then led to the special ed piece. The unfortunate part was change in personnel. As far as that high cost claim, we were not able to substantiate what we needed to substantiate. However, I'm very confident with Lindsay Swartzenduber that we'll be able to move forward and figure those things out. I think that's a great question, though, just accountability.
Any additional questions or comments? And I will check in with the directors on the phone. Did you have any questions or comments? I were hearing none. So are there any from anyone else? All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next up, we will go to the FY27 Operations Life Cycle Budget, and that looks like it's Koo Pratt.
You just shrink that down. I do have a folder on top that has it in it. So yeah, with that up. There you go.
Okay, good evening all. Apologies for the oversight on my part to have Kim pull that up ahead of time. This is our proposed operations lifecycle budget. I think we've all been a part of enough discussions in the spring to know our saved dollars are non-existent right now, both due to some of our own actions and some of the state actions. So PEPL is where a lot of these things will live. So the top portion we'll call the physical plant subtotal. That's a format that group has been utilizing for multiple years. I think we can go back all the way to FY20 to show what those actual expenses are. This is our budget, obviously. Technology was the number we had to pull over out of SAVE and into PEPL. So that's a new expense for this fund overall. I've broken it down into 3 categories just so we can start to track that a little better moving forward. So I don't have historical data on that readily available, but that's what we're proposing for this year. Then some of the other items, musical instruments, 75,000 was a similar number to previous years. Rentals and 2080 agreements. Biggest portion of that is our agreement with the City of Iowa City for the Mercer Pool. Makes up the biggest part of that number. School bus equipment is the other thing within this fund. And then our turf replacement costs, that's not the cost of a whole project, and we're not even stipulating which one yet. We just know we need to start on one this upcoming summer. So that cost will actually be split between 2 fiscal years because the project will actually split between 2 fiscal years, just starting in May or June and then finishing in August. That splits fiscal years. And then that's the total for all those subtotals, and then a contingency down there below. Any questions on any of that at this point?
Kurt, for the school bus equipment line, is that school bus equipment that the district's responsible for and it's not available? We can't charge that to the contractor as part of their equipment cost?
So it's just part of our, the way the contract with them is structured. We pay both for the mileage and then a lease of the equipment. And so this is that portion of their contract. So, you know, whether it's their daily routes or activity fund trips or whatever, that's kind of one piece that we pay, and that's typically coming out of the general fund. But then the actual lease of their equipment is paid through PEPL.
Okay, thanks.
Kurt, can you tell me the, I think I know, oh, sorry. Jennifer, do you want to go?
It was actually Lisa, but
Oh, it's
I
Lisa.
can go
Okay.
whenever.
Okay.
I was just trying to see.
Oh, I just have a question about the cost of a turf field. I think I know the number, but I'm just going to ask you what is the cost of a
We're
new turf?
projecting $3 million.
$3 million. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So it will take two years to do one.
2 fiscal years.
2 fiscal years to do one.
Yep.
Okay.
Director Williams?
Thank you. Hey, Kurt, thanks for this. I'm a little concerned
with the contingency amount, it just seems a little low to me. And if we exceed the contingency, the total PEPAL with contingency is our PEPAL revenue. I mean, is the plan then to cut something on the list? What's the plan?
Yeah, so one of the nice things about this is some of these expenditures kind of trickle over the course of the year so we can monitor them. Biggest one being that maintenance and repair projects line. We didn't have a significant amount we were planning to do with that this summer. And so that's one that we can pull back on if we need to. Otherwise, I agree entirely that contingency number is far lower than I would personally like it to be. However, trying to fit everything in between technology and facilities and those other miscellaneous things, as well as a turf replacement project that we're just running tight. So, and this doesn't include any fund balance, and that goes back to what CFO Moore was just talking about of not representing the fund balance. We don't have that represented here at all either. This is just anticipated revenue, anticipated expenses with projects. So theoretically, if there is a fund balance, that can also be used as a contingency as well, but we didn't want to assume that by any means.
I appreciate that, and that's good to know that maintenance and repair, which is a big line item, may have some wiggle room in it. Do you think then as the year goes on, you could keep us updated on this and maybe add a column as we start spending money from the budgeted amount so that the board can keep track of where we are and if we have to make any decisions about projects to delay?
For sure.
Thank you.
Any additional questions or comments? Director Lingo?
So when I was going through, first, if we could, I asked for the historical PEPAL, and I really appreciate you putting those numbers together. If that could also be uploaded to board docs, or not, we're not board docs anymore, we're Assembly, but you know what I mean.
Yep.
So I'm looking at technology under here, and I see, going through my tabs right now, where was I at on there? $1.8 million for equipment. What kind of technology equipment are we? Is this helping facilitate one-to-one buybacks, or what exactly goes into it?
So it's more of what I would call a rolling replacement cycle, and that group has done a great job in the last month or two as I've tasked them to build out a rolling replacement cycle of all that different technology equipment. So, for instance, in this room, these screens might have a lifespan of 10 years. So in 10 years, we need to be planning, $1,000 a screen, whatever that number needs to be. And so there is no big, we're not purchasing 1,000 laptops this year or anything like that. This number here is more just a rolling, trying to keep us afloat with what they know needs to be updated that might be at end of life. A lot of that's classroom projectors, Chromebook parts, or things of that nature. So
some of it could be from the one-to-one program?
Yeah.
Okay. And I think, I was going to save this for the end of the meeting, but I really think we need to get the technology committee back together and get it going with outside and things like that. Because, software expenses, I know there's some software that we have that offers duplicative services, and whether it's regular fund, general fund, PEPAL, whatever it's coming out of. But we've been talking about it for several months. We had both surveys come back. I think now that we're back from our little hiatus, whatever we need to do as a board to get that moving again.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yeah.
Is that independent of a screen time committee, or you view those as the same thing?
I think they're, I don't know, that's for the rest of the board to be a part of too, but I see it, it ends up being part of it, right?
Subsets for sure.
Yeah, subsets.
Going each direction,
Yeah.
for that matter. Just wanted to clarify.
No, but whatever committee and I see the committees being different ways and things of that, but just something starting because August is next week and we're on to figuring those things out. On the other question, I know cuts have to come from somewhere, but I noticed that the landscaping is being reduced from 144,000 this past year expenditure to 20,000 this year. I know in the past we've gotten a fair share of complaints about weeds and I know it's maintenance of the prairie area. The maintenance of the prairie areas always seems to be the big one. Some of the, what is it, the kudzu vine that always is around Shimmick, is that the vine? But we get those emails and I'm wondering what does $20,000 of landscaping look like compared to 140?
So some of that landscaping cost was tied up with outdoor classrooms.
Okay.
And I would say some of the specific things you just mentioned, I would say, at least from my seat, are more labor concerns than supply or equipment concerns.
Thank you for reiterating.
Yeah.
I didn't think about it that way because this is the equipment
Yeah.
to get that. Thank you.
I had a question. What's covered under the building envelope program? I know that that's like the physical space. That includes flooring, roofs, that also have their own item, line item.
Yep, so your envelope is basically anything on the exterior of the building. So any window replacements that need to be done, not roofing, we have that within a separate line item. But a good example of this, and I think why that number is partially the way it is like the tuck pointing we had to do over at Man.
Got it.
So it's all those things to make sure the exterior of the building is still maintained to a high level to get the maximum life expectancy out of your exterior surfaces.
The what at Man?
I think they're done now, so if you drove by, you might see it, but the tuck pointing they had to do up on that parapet, so they've done it each of the last 3 summers, because it was
the bricks.
The
bricks that were falling.
A large endeavor.
Yeah. All right. Any additional questions?
I was gonna make a point, your concerns about grounds, our grounds crew does a terrific job. It's just maybe they might be stretched a little thin this year because of our
No,
lack of temps.
that's not.
I just wanted to make that.
I know they do a great job. I see them come by my house at least once a week mowing their part of the yard. But it's not a complaint. It's more like a now I sound selfish, but it's I didn't realize, I wasn't thinking about the labor cost part.
All right. Thank you so much. That takes us to our next discussion item, which is the interim human resource director item. And Superintendent Courtmeyer, I'm assuming you want to kick us off?
Yes, thank you. So I want to thank the board for supporting your interest in supporting the Human Resources Department. The district has had to give considerations to all staffing and positions as related to our FY27 cuts. The org chart was shifting as announcements of departures of executive cabinet members were being made, and those plans continued to shift in May and June with the announcement of those departures. And with all that in mind, the direction from the board table at the end of June asked the administration to move forward with a contract to hire from the outside for an interim director of human resources, like we had done earlier with the CFO position and Kim Michael Lee that's sitting here with us tonight. So I worked, and tonight I brought forward to you then the agreement from McDermott and Bull. This contract outlines an estimated duration of approximately 3 months for the person to be with us at $185 per hour. Initially, they would be in-house for approximately 1 week, and then that work would continue remote thereafter. So that's the agreement that I have in front of you this evening.
Questions or comments from directors? Vice President Abraham.
I have a
I'm
comment.
sorry. Go ahead, Director Horn-Frazier.
Several. I want to thank you, first of all, for going to the effort to look into options for this particular solution. And I want to acknowledge that I have had the opportunity to think a lot more about this since our last meeting in June. And I will be voting against this contract tonight. And I just wanted to share why. And so I I apologize that my thinking has changed 180 degrees, that caused this work that didn't need to be, in my view, done. I know I'm not the whole board, but I'm just explaining my view. First of all, I think that it was a little bit of an overstep on the board's part, because our role is really not to micromanage other hiring decisions, but rather to trust in the judgment of the leadership team. And then I'm concerned too about the cost of this option. And we are obviously in a state where we're trying to control costs as much as possible. And based on feedback, extensive feedback from staff in the district, it's clear that the feeling is that we do have staff who are available to do the work, and there are other options that might make more sense. And we also have asked you all to do an organizational structure study, and you do not have that started even. And so I think that it's a little bit, I don't feel that's the most responsible choice to go forward with this option until we have more information about the structure that's going to best serve our district, and look at other options that, in the judgment of our leadership, might work well for our situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Horn-Frazier. Next up, we have Vice President Abraham that wanted to speak.
I too had a lot of thought after our June meeting, and I felt that I was really out of my lane on giving that much direction on how we should hire our HR person. I talked to one administrator who was really upset about this idea. You know, buildings are being asked to cut lots of money, to be careful in how they spend, and then we're going to pay somebody $185 an hour to do this. Seems unnecessary when it's possible if we have another option. So I don't think we should, I guess you do better when you know more. I guess when I thought more about it and found out the cost and of this position, I'm just not in favor of filling it that way.
I'll just chime in. Immediately after our June meeting, I was contacted by a building principal who had conversations with other administrators who had significant concerns about the plan. And it was great that they were willing to share what they heard from their peers. But I did some extra homework and actually talked to 19 principals and assistant principals, the ICEA leadership team, and 32 teachers within our building that listened to that June meeting and expressed concerns about that direction and what they viewed as bringing in someone who doesn't necessarily understand what our district needs when it comes to hiring. That was a theme with our building principals, I should say. And one left me with their concern that if, as a board, we're saying that we have to rein in expenses. His comment was, if the house is on fire, then we don't keep having dinner at the dining room table. So we have building principals paying out of pocket, which is kind of sad, for, I guess, their T-shirts they give their staff. And they're expressing concerns that we are now considering paying what could be an FTE for a teacher in a building for help that they are not seeing based on what we said we were going to do. And Director Horn-Frazier mentioned the study that we had promised later this year. So when we do get to that item, given all that information that I am very thankful that people felt comfortable calling and emailing me with, I do not believe I can, well, I won't be voting in favor of that, but I do appreciate the team working on bringing that back, since that was the direction that we had given the administration team at the last meeting.
Superintendent Kornemeyer, do we have this individual's curriculum vitae? Do we have the CV to review?
You're talking about the individual that's on the contract?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
have it, not with me, but yes.
Would you be able to forward that to the board so we can take a look at it? So, you know, I am concerned about whether or not this is a viable solution, obviously. You know, in terms of some of the concerns that have been expressed, I disagree with them. You know, first of all, the study that we're talking about doing, I'm not sure how that factors into this, because this is just a very temporary thing that we are doing. It's just for a few months to come in and kind of do an overhaul of our HR department, which we just heard from our interim CFO, who came in and did an overhaul of our financial department. Her report delineated all of the deficiencies of our HR department that has been going on for years. I mean, zero evaluations. HR is responsible for this. If there's someone in the HR department that can do this, I guess, why have they not been making sure that these things have been done? If we're not going to go with this solution, and you know, the board will decide what the board decides, I would suggest that we do a search and open it up to external candidates, because that seems like the only logical thing to do. Otherwise, we're repeating our same mistakes that we've been doing year after year that have gotten us into the debacle that we have been dealing with for the last 6 months. So I would guess that you have some things to say as well, Director Lingo?
Yeah, it's what boggled my mind in the, well, there are a lot of things that boggled my mind in the fiscal year 24 audit, but one of them was the amount of time that the auditors spent focused on our human resources department. I mean, it's a 20% of a random sample of 25 employees were working without legal contracts. There were no formal reconciliations between human resources records and payroll systems to verify payroll matching contracts. Employee information was being housed in 3 separate systems, with the 4th for payroll. Overtime calculation errors, misaligned timekeeping and payroll records, early retirement benefits exceeding board policy, reliance on manual processes, weak documentation and review processes. These were all in our audit. And maybe the $168, I looked her up on LinkedIn. It's a pretty extensive record in human resources at various institutions, including education. But, you know, it's when the auditors are telling us that we have human resource issues, and that is a component of where we are at financially, and they are the impartial auditors that we hire to come in to perform the audit. It's like, I mean, at the same point in time, we have people in business here tonight that are coming to speak to us, and I sure would like to hear their opinions, especially some of the financial oversight people, but it is, if we are not going to go down this route to hire this person, we need to open it up.
Yeah, and I would just add that in terms of cost, I mean, you get what you pay for, but the cost is about half of what we were paying for our interim CFO. And I would hope that we would all agree that that was money well spent.
Hey, it's Director Williams. Thanks. I just want to chime in. I agree. I think with some time and some self-reflection, this isn't a path that I want to support. The cost is astronomical. It's for 3 months if she works no overtime. It's about $88,000, which is equivalent to a new first-year teacher full-time for the entire year at the district. So we do not have the money to spend that much money for a 3-month-long position. I also want to push back on this idea that HR is the one that does evaluations. To me, that doesn't ring true. I know at my office, HR does not do evaluations. Your supervisor does evaluations. So if we need an evaluation of our budget office, I don't know why someone from HR who has no budget knowledge would do that. And in fact, I think our CFO today said that she's responsible for some of these financial evaluations, and then someone else from the budget office does the other one. So I think that there's maybe a disconnect about what HR is supposed to do and what needs to be done. I don't think we need to open it up for an external posting at this point in time. I agree with Director Horn-Frazier. We are going to have this organizational study, and until we understand what position we actually need from the HR, is it a chief, is it a director, is it an executive director, until we understand what the position should look like, I am not comfortable posting and hiring a person for it. I think that we have the internal capability to designate somebody at the director level, which is what I thought we talked about at our last meeting. And then we can always change that position once we understand what our overall organization is going to be. So I too am going to vote tonight. Thanks.
So is HR not responsible for ensuring that evaluations are done? Does anyone know?
I think that's different than doing the evaluation.
Yeah, I don't think I said that, but they are responsible for ensuring that they are done, correct? Does anyone know?
My HR department at my work is not responsible for making sure the evaluations are done. My direct supervisor is Gina. So I don't know the answer to that question. I would want to talk to our HR team and see if that's in their job duty descriptions, or if it's the responsibility of the supervisors in the chain that need the evaluations done.
I would say it's working
I
in
just think it
concert.
depends on the organization.
I would say it's working in concert with one another. Certainly timelines and things like that are being shared by HR. Obviously, different individuals are performing those evaluations, but I do think it's working in concert with one another.
So it's a partnership. Okay, great.
Director
I
Eastham.
just wanted to add a comment
Sorry.
too related to some of the findings that Director Lindo referred to about payroll and so on. And my understanding from the work that was done by interim CFO Michael Lee and then what CFO Moore has been talking about is that the problem has been not so much, the problem has essentially been both antiquated systems and communication gaps. And so I feel like what both interim CFO Michael Lee and CFO Moore are working on with the team is to look at alternatives to the antiquated system, to develop processes and procedures that accomplish what we need them to, and to make sure that there is better communication between payroll and finance going forward. And I think that that's certainly something that I would fully expect our Financial Oversight Committee to be looking at and guiding as well. And so I really don't see that as an HR responsibility, but rather, again, another place where there is a partnership absolutely required. But I think the root causes were really complicated and can't be boiled down to just HR in this case. I do share the concern about those things, both the evaluations and the other issues that you've mentioned, but I do see that we're addressing them and that we are all going to be very mindful of them going forward.
9%. 9% is what our payroll exceeded for August, September, October, November, December, in January. It wasn't until 6 months into this that someone was able to figure out that our payroll had overshot 9%. If I don't work in business, I grew up in a business household. I have friends that are in business. I talk to them. Every one of them is astounded that we would not have figured, or Human Resources Department would not have figured out that we had overshot payroll by 9% for 6 months. Like, I get that this, it's in the audit. Like, when the auditors are telling us that things aren't working out, here's the outside people. And also, we did not talk about appointing anyone internally. The way that it started was an external and internal hiring process that was put online back in the beginning of June after a quick discussion within a board meeting. And the original hiring had very little to do with human resources. The original one in Cedar Rapids put their own up at the same time. Emily Campbell, who's here like every meeting, sent us an email that day. This is what you guys posted, this is what Cedar Rapids posted. And I don't know if this person's the best person, but at the very least, open it up to candidates.
Yeah, where did this idea for an internal appointment come from? Because we haven't discussed that at the board table before.
I don't know who said, internal appointment. I just said, I'm not comfortable with this, and I was going to ask Superintendent Courtmeyer if this does not pass, what would be her suggested next steps? And it might be opening up for a search for an interim.
Yeah, I think that's not what I heard from our directors over the phone, though.
I don't know. Director Williams or Horn Frazier, I don't know. Did one of you mention internal appointment?
If I did, I misspoke. I was referring, the last time I thought we talked about this, we said at director level, not at chief. That's what I was referring back to.
But when I said that we should have a search and open it up to external candidates, you said that you did not agree with that. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah, no, I don't. Again, if we don't know what I don't know how we offer a job to an external candidate and then tell them, hey, by the way, in 4 months, we might change this job radically and you might not be qualified. So we're going to have to fire you. Like, to me, I don't understand how we do that as decent people in a professional environment. We do not know what the head of HR is going to look like. I should say this. I don't know. Maybe you guys do.
So I don't
know what this job is going to look like permanently. And so until I know what we're hiring, I don't know how we post a posting for it. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me.
But didn't we have a posting for an interim HR director out there, and that was the original plan?
I think it was an interim.
That's what I said.
No one is
interim.
talking about an interim anymore, even.
No,
Like,
oh, really? Oh, no, we're still talking about an interim here. This whole discussion is about an interim HR director, and the contract is for an interim HR director to come in for a few months.
And I think that we're kind of circling around maybe a core issue of, one, we don't know yet how that role will be defined, and then two, that at least from my perspective, I'm not certain that being so prescriptive as a board is our role in this particular case. It is our duty to say this is very important to do the best we can for our district in hiring somebody, or having somebody in that role, and to expect that person will carry out the duties that we believe are critical. But how that's done, I don't believe is our purview. So I think there's those two issues, the board's purview and then the definition of that role within whatever our organizational structure will be once we're done with the study.
I just want to give Director Eastham an opportunity. He has been patiently waiting to at least chime in once.
Thank you, President Malone, and I appreciate the conversation of everyone at this point. I am particularly struck by the fact that I think President Malone, Molly, and one or two others have been contacted by members of the leadership teams and the buildings and so forth, and with a lack of support for this approach in terms of structuring a leadership of the human resources responsibilities that are part of the district structure. So I don't necessarily, I would agree, I guess, with what's been said so far, that this approach, hiring an interim human resource director at this pay level is not, doesn't have a lot of support amongst many staff members. Not only the pay, I think, is a problem, but I think the overall approach of simply having an interim director is something of an issue too. So I'm more than willing to support a different approach at this point.
And so if the board is not interested in going ahead with this contract that we have in front of us, I would be in favor of doing a search for an interim HR director. That includes external candidates.
And my question would be to Superintendent Courtmeyer is, what would be ultimately your recommendation in addition to a search for the board to consider for us to have that back in front of us in August?
Well, I appreciate all the thought and discussion around human resources, and this is a real critical position for the district. In fact, I think it's vital for many of the reasons already discussed here tonight. This position, of course, helps support all of our employees in the district. That's our number one asset, right? And I can tell you that we feel being down a person in the HR department. There's a lot of us that are picking up those pieces to answer questions that typically a director level role or the chief would have been answering. And we're at a critical, point in the district. I agree with so much of what has been said. You have an organizational study that's, we hope to be bringing a vendor in front of you all in August sometime. That's going to help answer ultimately the question about whether we should be posting for a permanent position to be a director level or a chief level position. I think about the timing of when that study may be back. I think that could possibly intertwine when you have your next superintendent, a permanent superintendent announced. The thing that I don't desire or like about this contract is that the person's going to be working remote. And when you're working in HR, that's a people department, right? You need to be with your staff. Because I feel that we are a person down, I do believe going back and doing what we did in early June is the best path forward right now, and posting to see what we can get in the way of potential candidates for an interim role. I don't think that that being a person down is helpful to us right now at this juncture in the district's history. So I would like to see it get posted and, that interim be up for as long as it needs to be up. Maybe the permanent hire, once we know what that permanent hire is going to look like, maybe they can start mid-year. Maybe they're not going to be until a July 1 hire, but we don't know those things yet. I'd love to see what kind of candidate pool that we could get by reposting it.
And by reposting it, that's both external and internal?
Yes.
I can get on board with that.
Yeah.
I would agree with that plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is our legislative priorities. We go over this every year for Iowa Association of School Board legislative platforms that's discussed at the Delegate Assembly at BoardCon in November. The priorities start on page 14, and typically what we do here is directors suggest a couple or several of their top choices, and then Secretary Coven would send out a poll for us to vote on, and those results would then be shared at our August meeting. That still gives her time to submit those priorities for our district by the August 21st deadline. So, given that description, are there priorities that board members would like to see on that poll from Secretary Coven? The floor is open. Oh, I will jump in. Always, I like to see mental health listed, and student achievement are the top two that I would like us to consider. And early literacy, sorry, those three.
State aid.
I have literacy and SSA.
Okay,
Yeah, I would agree with those two.
all right,
Preschool, please.
thank you. Are there any ones from you, Director Horn-Frazier?
I think you all, yeah, you've listed my top ones as well. Well, actually, what I want to check on, I'm not sure how you all are referring to them. I'm looking at number 6 with, basically public dollars for public school.
Okay. All right. Any other ones? Hearing none. Secretary Coven, you have what you need. She will get that poll out to us. And just look for that, and we'll reconvene and discuss that at the August meeting. Next up is the Greater Iowa City Countywide Work Group request. Oh, this was brought up at the joint entities meeting that was held on July 20th in a discussion related to data centers. And the proposed plan from Greater Iowa City was to perhaps get a group of elected officials from those that were represented at joint entities to come together to develop some principles that the county can use when considering requests for data centers, including just a no. So they wanted to see if we would be willing to appoint a representative from the board to sit in on the work group, and then I would pass that name on to Chairman John Green, who's collecting all those names. Now, I did have one director reach out already willing to do that, and that's Director Horn-Frazier, but I wanted to make sure to see if anyone else would be interested or had questions.
Thank you, President Malone. I would very much support our designating a member of this work group, primarily because, in my mind, data centers seem to have a fairly large effect upon electric rates, which is a significant one of our operating costs. I know we don't have, school boards don't have authority in regulating land use, but at least for around them, beyond their campuses. But the utility rate issues, I think, are well worthwhile reporting someone to this body. And I would support Jennifer as well as a representative.
I'm happy with the two. If Director Horn-Frazier wants to do it, that's great. I think there's a lot of things that go on, especially with tax incremental financing, TIF financing, and things like that. I mean, I remember this year or last year, Waukee had some sort of problem with the way that they,
Yeah.
with the taxing and how that went on, and it affected their school district budget significantly. But so there's a lot in there, because I also know that data centers will often give large donations to the school district that surrounds them, but that's the
Maybe, yes.
Maybe.
But also, it was an interesting conversation to hear about some of the concerns on resources, mainly water availability or scarcity, especially for our county. And I believe Chairman Green shared that report, like with everyone that was listed as part of joint entities, to show that we have some serious concerns regarding our water resource, just for the number of folks here and how much data centers pull from that scarcity. So it'll be interesting work group, and I'm fine with Director Horn-Frazier doing it.
And in thinking about Director Lynch's discussion, or bringing up the matter of data centers making donations to local governments, I'll have to go and look up in the dictionary what bribes mean again.
That was a joke, I think. Yes. All right. With that, that takes us to, so thank you, Director Horn-Frazier, for volunteering for that. That takes us to our presentation items for tonight. And first up is the Junior Achievement presentation. And I don't know if Superintendent Courtmeyer wants to kick them off, or should that go to someone else from our team?
Well, I can kick it off. Thank you for being here tonight, Nate.
Yes.
We appreciate the presentation and update.
Thank you.
I'm so sorry, we don't have your name.
Christine,
that's right. And Christine.
Well, good evening, and thank you so much for the opportunity to be here tonight. I'm Christine Landa, and we are pleased to be here to highlight some outcomes from the 25-26 partnership school year. To do that, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Dr. Nate Klein, our Vice President of Education for Junior Achievement of Eastern Iowa.
All right, thank you. We're really excited. I was hoping to give a full financial presentation, but you've already taken care of that. So we'll just dive into student success. And I think what's really special and want to highlight with this is your students and your educators have done an amazing job this year. And I think part of what Junior Achievement is about is how do we bolster that work that they are doing and making sure that we engage the community as well. So just a few points that we want to touch on. Last time we were here, there was a request for additional data and looking at how the impact and the outcomes we're looking as well. So we're going to talk about that. So we're going to talk about this past year, what we're proposing going forward, how we did come under budget from the JA Dream Accelerator perspective, and any time for questions that you might have as well. So just a year in review, I believe our organization probably brings the most volunteers from a connecting the business community, and I know Director Lingo has talked about this several times. We had nearly 500 volunteers in the classrooms and then also at the CFI to provide junior achievement and other programming as well. 10 different student experiences, 13,000 student experiences, so those are not unique students because some students had multiple experiences throughout the year as well. And just some additional data points. Some of these pictures are from the first annual summer business camp that we have partnered with Executive Director Eliza and others to put together this past year, actually this summer, to engage the local community and build on that in future years. So hopefully also provide a revenue resource for the district. Just want to highlight quickly the elementary program highlights. So kindergarten and first grade were teacher-led curriculum, and so we brought in our JA national curriculum to the educators. For those of you that really love to talk about standards, I've got a whole book of the new 2026, 27 social studies standards that highlight all the financial literacy, and all of our programs help align with that. And so when you talk about bolstering things, and when Carmen has talked about how do we layer things on as well, it's both to add value to the students, and it's also to be able to hit some of these standards that aren't necessarily hit during the regular teaching of social studies or math as well. So in kindergarten and first grade, we have two different programs, and as you can see some of the results there, those were the contracted grades for this past year. As part of our 30-plus year agreement that we've had with the Iowa City Community School District, we also offer other educators, if they are interested, outside of those contracted services, if they'd like to have it in the classroom, whether it's in 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or 5th grade. And so some of those teachers have been with us a long time and have asked to be able to have some of those programs that they have teacher-led as well. So you'll see some of those additional students in there. There's no evaluations taken with that because they are teacher-led at that point in time. For those of you who like to look at the core standards, those are all listed underneath as well. Some of the pictures here are from our Boxtown event that we partnered with the school district on. And so what we'll highlight later on is also talking about how do we bolster the things that the school district already has without additional costs coming to the school district. So for instance, in 1st grade this year, they had JAR families where they learned about the concepts of needs and wants and choices. And then they got to talk about where their families fit into a greater community. And so we partnered with Hy-Vee and other local organizations and the educators in the different buildings to put together different towns. And so the students got to come to the CFI to experience it, to get out of their own classroom, to have hands-on experiential learning. And that's really the differentiator for junior achievement, is what that experiential learning, that hands-on experience really provides. I know there's been some discussion about screens and what that really looks like. And so specifically in those K through 5 grades, really having them have those hands-on opportunities outside of what the screens would be. Middle school, we focused specifically this last year on J.A. Biztown. I know we've talked about this in the past. The Iowa City Community School District at 6th grade has had hundreds of volunteers that have come through. And we really want to give kudos to many of your high school students. We spent time this year training nearly 100 high school students in our JA Heroes program. And so they learn about civic responsibility. And then they decided to come back instead of painting a house or doing something else that is very worthy cause, but to come back in their own middle schools to interact with their former educators, to be volunteers within J. Biztown. We also support the delta between what the high school students and others, so we had very many community volunteers that are involved in that as well. They have a 10-week experience in the classroom where the teachers are leading some of that curriculum, and then they set up and run a town. I just want to give a small story of what that looks like. If you haven't had the experience to see it in action, it happens right below here. I was able to work with one of the students that was in the Amperage, or the media center, is where the town DJ is, and they were the CFO. And so coming for the job at some point in time. But this particular student said, hey, Mr. Nate, I know it's my time to shop, but I can't go shopping. And I was a little concerned because I didn't know, I know this is maybe a little bit too on the nose, like I didn't know if he was worried about payroll or whatever it might be. And he said, Mr. Nate, what if a bill comes in? Or what if I have to pay one of my classmates? And I said, Sam, like, you're in 6th grade, go have fun. And I think it was really heartening for us to see, like, 6th graders are worried about payroll. They're worried about loan balances. They're worried about all of these things that the state has said, hey, this is really important for us. And then so they put in different house files. But also I think we individually understand that this is an important thing and a skill for students to learn. So those hands-on learning experiences have been really well. He did end up running around within about 5 minutes to purchase all of his tchotchkes and made sure he got his bills paid as well. And then thank you, many of you joined for the ribbon cutting for the JA Dream Accelerator. And just a big thank you to the school district. I know about a year and a half or so ago, we started this conversation with various members of the leadership team to talk about what are some things that could differentiate the school. Unfortunately or fortunately, public schools has become competitive. And as we think about what this looks like to both attract and retain students and families, what are some things that we could encourage them to be a part of? And so after several visits with a couple school board members and others, landed on and voted on to install the JA Dream Accelerator, which ended up being the 2nd in the nation. There are now 4 of them, and we are the smallest market that has done this and really become a model for the nation as well, about career exploration, engaging the community, and really helping students learn what they can achieve at a higher level. So I won't go into detail of all the different stations, but along with that, we had over 400 students earning a credential. So when you think about your post-secondary readiness scorecard, so it's 11% of the high school curriculum, or what the high schools are being assessed on, this is the first IRC that is for the masses. So you think there's some great IRCs related to health and human services, welding and others, but this is for those job skills, the competencies that I think each of you have talked about in your own businesses that you are a part of as well. We had over 1,100 students attend the Career Inspire events. And then also we had, like I mentioned before, nearly 100 students do High School Heroes. The JA Dream Accelerator, you all challenged us to think about what we could do differently. So it's not just 18 to 20 days of use for this multi-million-dollar facility, and I'll talk a little bit about that in the next few slides as well. So just wanted to share some very high level. I know Director Lingo, you talked about what does this look like on a national level when we last met. And I think a lot of what junior achievement has to do is figuring out how do we approach students to support educators in what they are doing. And so you've got amazing educators. You've highlighted that several times here tonight. We are focused on how do we bring in that community connection to be able to bolster the work and help students see what is possible. Because sometimes seeing is believing, and like many of you, you maybe grew up in households where you thought these were the jobs available. So how do we make that opportunity available for all students as well? A study by Georgetown University looked at, by 2031, 70% of jobs will require education or training beyond high school. And I know you've set the path of pathways, and I know Carmen and team have done a really great job talking about what those pathways look like. And what the state is asking school districts to do, and the 30 plus that we work with, is how do we start that work earlier? And that's what you all have adopted as well. JA is a partner that catalyzes and brings people together. And so in addition to software support, we are here in your classrooms. We have someone that is here part-time working in the Dream Accelerator, recruiting people to volunteer, and then making sure that the students can see what is possible within their own community. Because unfortunately, I think for the last several decades, we have focused on workforce retention happening after high school. And these students are making decisions if they want to stay in this community in middle school. Is it cool? Do I see myself here as well? And that's what Junior Achievement is attempting to do. So just a couple of slides talking about accelerating economic mobility. We have a large suite of things, and the Iowa City Community School District is focused on a couple subsets of them, and really talking about how do we help students engage. The Gallup has done several studies about the engagement of students and how in 5th grade you could ask a question and 5th graders are going to start raising their hand, and by 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, they stop doing that because they stop becoming engaged. And so how do we put some experiences in front of them that get them excited about education beyond the practice field or the practice studio? These are the two areas, K through 8 programming, and then what we call our experiential learning centers, so BizTown and the Dream Accelerator. We have another one we work with school districts focused specifically on financial literacy with Finance Park, but then we also do some things at the high school level and beyond as well. Just for some of our experiential learning centers, it talks about that relevant experience. Like I said, the teachers are doing amazing things in the classroom, and then how do we bolster that as we go forward? Just a couple statistics, 93% of teachers observe a higher sustained level of engagement with experiential learning. And so I think if you look at studies throughout, which we have, and our national office has, experiential learning provides that opportunity for students to engage in a different way. Just a couple things with JA BizTown. I've talked about this at length. Educators are also seeing the value in this. They're seeing students that don't necessarily engage in the classroom raising their hands to become the CEO of an organization, maybe the mayor, or getting involved in different ways. The Dream Accelerator has also been a really profound experience for several students. If you were there on opening night, I walked around with an 11th grader named Colin, and he talked about how he was dead set on going into medical services, and he didn't understand that there are even human services opportunities offered. And so it's not about helping students select the career that they're going to do, but opening up to possibilities of what is possible for them beyond what they might know. So to touch on briefly the last few slides, we have talked with Executive Director Degner and others about how do we expand the Junior Achievement Dream Accelerator reach so it's not just focused on the 9th grade. And so we've worked with our national partners to come up with a plan for 7th grade that would address financial literacy standards, also focus on the career investigation, career connections for House File 316, and then also include a truncated experience that focuses on more local entrepreneurs. And then 5th grade would also be paired with an in-classroom learning curriculum that would hit the four out of the four financial literacy standards, also expanding beyond. I know Director Lingo, you asked about the different things that different softwares and other things could do. House File 316 really looks at 3 different things, investigation, connection, and intention. And the connection part is really where the Dream Accelerator really comes into play as well. Lastly, you all as a district this last year, and I think what we're proposing this year is focusing on kindergarten and first grade. And so we have other things in the suite. And this would be the proposal for this year, and this is what the MOA is sitting in front of you. We would move from about 6,700 unique students to over 10,000 unique students. We'd move from about 11,000 student experiences that were projected to over 17,000, both a 56% increase in each of those. And you may be thinking like, wow, Nate, that sounds like a lot more money. And I'll get to why that is not the case. I think we have a keen understanding of what you all are going through as well and want to honor the 30-plus year relationship we have with you. So in addition to those classes, we would have some different experiences that we would bolster as well. Some of you may have heard of the Flood Heroes program that happens at the 4th grade. It's an amazing experience, and if you haven't seen it, I'd highly recommend it so students learn about what that disaster could look like. And so this year, what we did is we partnered with the school district to say, this is a great experience. How can we talk about careers alongside it? And so that's not necessarily something the school district is paying for, but we're using our career connections to bring in civil engineers, people from the university to help talk to students about what those careers could be with an event that is already in place as well. So as you'll see here with the chart, this year we had planned for just about 70,000 instructional contact hours. So that is the time spent with students, either educators or volunteers. And this next year we'd project over about 85,000. Last year's MOA costs, which are the curricular costs that go to pay for the curricular materials associated with that, we charge $14 and now 50 cents per student. That's about a third of what our overall cost would be. And our junior achievement team does the rest of the fundraising. So we've got representatives from our board here, Eric Tyler, and our president here. They do fundraising to help support all of our school districts, specifically with Iowa City as well. So we'd be going from 92,000 to what we're proposing is a 44,000. When we met with the executive directors, we did not want to lose. They came to us and said, we have to make cuts. We're making cuts across the board from a curricular perspective and others. We would not be able to sustain that amount of growth. We went back to our board of directors and board of trustees and talked to them about how we could maybe do some additional fundraising for this year to help cover that cost, because we don't want to lose longitudinal studies and the outcomes-based initiatives that we've been able to do as well. So as a part of the MOA, you may have seen there's an agreement that talks about how do we stair-step this as you all get a better financial footing in the years ahead to continue this partnership. And the last slide is just an overview of the Dream Accelerator. I'll highlight here, the board had approved back in March or April a $2.1 million spend. We finished the build on time and under budget, which we don't always get to say, and it was under budget by a little over $500,000. And so I know those are kind of separate accounts that are coming in, so general fund for the MOA, and then other for the Dream Accelerator. There's a small amount of outstanding costs associated with that, but those are direct costs to expand as well. With that being said, I think I'm at my time, and I would open it up for any questions or comments the group would have.
Thank you. I would open it up for directors who had comments or questions.
Thank you, Nate. So I have a question about the Dream Accelerator. I know when you first came and presented to us, we talked about the video portion and how that could be tailored and personalized to our school district and our community. Do we have that now? Has that been installed?
Yes,
Okay.
It has not been installed yet. We've actually contracted with a local, his name is Robert. He's doing some videos over the next couple of months after we activate them following this decision to be able to do the 5th and 7th grade videos that would feature local content like the University of Iowa, Stutzman's, and others that would focus on the localized content. In addition to that, what we're doing in the visionary section, so if you imagine the Dream Accelerator, it talks about visionaries from throughout the United States. For the 5th grade experience, we're going to focus on entrepreneurs that are 25 and younger from the state of Iowa. So how do we localize some of that content, which we're able to do? So the short answer is it's not implemented yet, and it will be for this coming year.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Nate, for coming tonight and providing this information to us. I'm still very enthusiastic about this addition to our programming and instructional offering to students. It's contrasting what I remember as in my own youth as a first or second grader, and trying to figure out what to do as a adult. This is an entirely better approach to over that instructional method or instructional approach, and I think it's having much greater impact upon groups of students in our district who we haven't paid a lot of attention to in terms of their aspirations for careers as they become older.
Thank you. We agree.
No, Nate, thank you for the presentation. You're good at what you do.
Thanks.
Just gonna say. So I have a few questions. They pretty much come down to the MOU. I know that's later in here, but it feels like this is probably the most appropriate part. In here, I know in the past you have been doing the recruitment of volunteers, and it says in the case of experiential programs with simulation, the district will primarily be responsible for recruiting volunteers to support simulations. Junior Achievement will work in collaboration with the district to do gaps. Have you done that in the past, or has that been a district requirement?
We have done that.
Okay.
And so maybe if it would be helpful, I could talk about kind of the process we go through.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So what we start with is I talked about high school heroes. J.A. Biztown is a perfect example of that opportunity. And so we worked with Carmen and others to do a training for, like we mentioned, about 100, and those start. Then what we do is we reach out to previous people that have volunteered and ask them if they would like to be a part of the process as well. Then what we do is we put together a flyer for the educators, because this is an opportunity for many parents who are most all also employees to get involved with their students' experience. So the third thing that we do is we send out a flyer to the parents, whether it's on PTO, PTA nights, and also to see if they would be interested. And lastly, to fill the gap, we have meetings with organizations like Civco, General Mills, and others to help fill those gaps of the community volunteers. So that's kind of the hierarchy of what we look through. So when it says working with the district, it is mostly a communication mechanism to get students in, and then also to promote this to the parents of the district.
And then under responsibilities of the district, it says, will identify a partnership coordinator who will be the primary contact of the Junior Achievement Partnership. Project coordinator will connect Junior Achievement staff to the district personnel responsible for delivering Junior Achievement programming. Partnership coordinator will identify and connect Junior Achievement staff to the volunteer liaisons in the district. Partnership coordinator will identify and connect Junior Achievement staff to the marketing and communications coordinator to the district. Who is our project coordinator?
I won't speak on your behalf, but I think for K through 5, we work with Executive Director Eliza. And then for beyond that, we'll work with Executive Director Degner. And so that has been the process. They have done a wonderful job about connecting us with their subject matter experts. So like we work with Patrick, or we work with Jeremiah McGraw on J.A. Biztown. So it depends on the subject matter expertise of those organizations. So we have that in there because we also work with districts like Olin that have about 15 students, and so we just have one person, whereas a district like Iowa City Community School District might have several based on their expertise.
Do we have any idea of how many hours we end up spending on Junior Achievement curriculum development and all that to go into these projects? No softball. Okay, that's fine.
No, junior achievement in isolation, no. But working with our curriculum experts and our vendors would be something that we regularly do. So for example, with math, we regularly collaborate with IM, who is the math materials that we utilize for professional development and things like that. So it's very typical for what we do for all curricular areas.
Yeah. And so in this list, what are the new programs that we'd be adding on?
I love that question. Thank you. All right. If I go to this list, I think that's probably the best. So the K1 is existing. Yep. The 5th grade JA in classroom would be new. Okay, so this would be, we'd utilize a program called JA More Than Money. So that talks about the different financial literacy standards, and then they would come to the CFI for the DREAM experience. So 5th grade experience would be new. We did the majority of the K through 4 career exploration. So that second bullet point is an included service that we provide. So we've got a dedicated workforce manager that works with Patrick. So At kindergarten, we're doing a Careers on Wheels experience, so students can have those experiences. Boxtown would come back in first grade. There's an author series at second grade, and so we'd bring in career exploration. Maybe even Grace would come there and talk about different experiences they have as part of the Gazette. So all of those are things that we've done in the past. A couple of them did get cut this year because of funding. So I believe the kindergarten program this year did get cuts because it was supposed to be in the spring, and so some of those busing costs were cut. BizTown would continue. The 7th grade JA Dream Accelerator would be new, and so that would be accompanied with Dream Accelerator curriculum and then that experience. The Pathway to Purpose partnership this past year, that is something the school district had already put together to help students kind of see what their future could hold in high school. And so we worked on that as well to bring in volunteers and career experts to talk through that. And then the 2 JA Dream Accelerator at 9th grade and high school and the Essential Skills for Work credential are all maintained. So that's a high-level overview. The biggest ones are 5th and 7th grade Dream Accelerator, and then some career exploration in elementary school.
I'll let some other people ask questions.
So I'm glad you brought up the busing, because I am curious about what the all-in cost is going to be. How much more will we be spending on busing this coming year with the addition of these grade levels?
Yeah.
Or total, not just more, but total, what are we looking at a busing cost?
I don't know if I'd have a total for you. We could definitely bring that back. I will say, just from a alignment of resources standpoint, that's something that the foundation has agreed to help us support for events out to the Center for Innovation this year. So it's not a cost on the general fund to the district. So those would be supported through the foundation.
Okay, so it's supported 100% through the foundation?
Yes.
The busing cost? Okay, all right, good. Good to hear.
Just to add on to that, I do believe Laura is in the audience, or was in the audience,
Yes.
from the foundation.
Hey, Laura.
So we have, we're starting conversations through those, the ICCSD Innovates, so having all of our students in the elementary grades coming here for like Flood Heroes, Boxtown, all those pieces. We are starting to work through making connections with community partners that may want to help start to sponsor some of those events. And so we're working through that piece right now in hopes that we'll be able to continue to bring more community partners and think through sponsorships for some of those costs as well.
Okay, thanks, Eliza.
Do directors on the phone have any questions?
I do not, but thank you for the good presentation and the good questions from my fellow directors.
Well, sounds like there's no further or Director Lingo, did you have additional questions?
I have stuff for the MOU.
All right. Thank you so much for the presentation tonight and for being here. The next presentation will be the annual Asset Protection Program report, I'm sorry, and that is again our Chief Operating Officer, Pratt.
Good evening, all, again. There's 3 different attachments to this, and I see they've been combined into one, which is great. This is probably the one that I'll hang out most on, at least to talk about our property and casualty and workers' compensation. I assume most of you know, because I think this presentation's been done several times, but for those of you who are new to the district, we're part of the Iowa Public School Insurance Program, which is an insurance cooperative. We're with, I think, 18 other districts now that all pool together our resources. And I was admittedly skeptical of this when I first heard about it, but now having been more involved about it, I'm a huge fan of it. I think it's a tremendous thing for our district. And the biggest thing is it's got a board that directs it, and we have a seat on that board. So we're the largest district is within the pool, and so we get to see kind of the backup information and help drive our own decisions as far as what are our renewals going to be. Do we push forward on this? Do we pull back on that? And so I would say more than any other district in the state as far as our property and work comp renewals, we get to have much more of a say and drive that forward. So this just shows our increases over the time. I don't think anybody's so disconnected to not know that property insurance rates are going up all across the state, certainly with the higher incidence of severe weather. One of the great things about this program, other programs in the state, there's a 1% wind hail deductible. So if you have any storm damage, you pay 1% of the total value of the property, which was hard to wrap your head around when it first started coming out a couple years ago. But if you had a roof blown off, let's say that roof was valued at $500,000, typically your deductible was whatever your was agreed to in your plan, $5,000, $10,000, whatever that amount was. They moved to a 1% wind hail deductible, and so you paid 1% of the replacement value of the building. So you might have actually paid out the whole cost of the roof replacement if it was a large building and this was just a section. So this program does not have anything like that. That's a tremendous benefit to us. The nice thing about this also is as we pay in our premiums, those funds are then used to pay out claims up to a certain amount, and then we're insured beyond that amount. So I could go into way more detail. Insurance is a big beast, as we all know. Any questions on property casualty or work comp renewals? Great, hearing none. Scroll down to the last thing. Trying to make everybody dizzy. This isn't really an asset protection, but it's also been included in this report in the past. This is just our summary of employee benefits. So biggest one being our health insurance fund, which we are self-funded. We know we have some work to do, and we have a committee that is meeting monthly now to work with our plan administrator, which is True North, to help us chart our path forward as insurance costs are rising and we need to update our premiums to reflect that. So for this year, the district picked up a 6% increase on our premium side, but left it flat for employees. So single employee coverage for certified employees is $65, $30 for classified employees under a certain hour amount. One of the things you guys approved, I can't remember, I think it was this meeting, was the RFP for a new pharmacy benefit manager. That's been a big discussion for the Health Insurance Committee for the past 6 months, I would say. So we'll work with them to try to find a new pharmacy benefit manager to keep our pharmacy costs lower. Again, insurance, you can talk ad nauseum. Anybody have any questions on any of this?
I just had a quick question under the medical insurance part, the last bullet, flu shots and wellness screenings available. Are you saying available in-house or covered under the policy?
I don't believe we have had flu shot clinics within the district, but I certainly couldn't speak to that with certainty. If somebody else over there, we have, yes. Great, perfect. I just didn't take advantage of it apparently.
And is that at every building or select buildings, Executive Director Proctor?
I think they grouped schools.
They've grouped.
Yeah.
And it's for staff and staff families?
I believe. I'm going to default
Anybody.
to the expert over there. Eliza, I'm looking at you again.
If we actually did them last year, and I know we had to stop the staff wellness exams, but we couldn't. She thinks we did do the.
But for the
vaccines.
flu shot clinics?
But yeah, we've grouped them to different buildings.
Right. Is it for just staff, or if staff had their family covered, or is it for anyone?
It is for staff in the community, but they, it's just the hours are a little bit different. I took my children once, it didn't go well.
Okay.
No.
I know the feeling.
Thank you.
It was very embarrassing at my place of employment. Yeah, we were not.
Were there any other questions?
I just have a quick question about the Iowa, the IPSIP. And this is because someone brought this to my attention about a month ago, about there is a provision for crisis management, and given our financial crisis that we just went through, do we have any coverage for any of the costs that we incurred to manage that crisis?
I don't know that we have any recourse in terms of recovering costs. What that program is specifically targeted for is any event that the district considers a crisis, we can reach out to a company contracted through our insurance provider who will help provide guidance in navigating that crisis. So it is not limited only to some of those threats that may be out there that happen within schools. It's literally, I mean, I'm taking this verbatim from the presentation that we had. It's anything that your district deems a crisis, you can call this hotline and receive guidance. So no recourse in cost, but maybe some guidance that can be provided.
Oh, okay, got it. I'm just curious, is that something that we could have sought guidance from them? Would that have been? under
Potentially,
that
and we still
umbrella?
can.
Okay, all right, interesting. All right,
Yep.
thank you.
Any additional questions or comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
That takes us to our last presentation of tonight, which is the Financial Oversight Committee update from our partners with Greater Iowa City, Katie Gerlach and Nancy Bird, maybe? No? Okay.
Good evening, members of the board, superintendent, and community members. My name is Mackenzie DeRue, and I'm here tonight on behalf of Greater Iowa City, Inc. As fellow members of the Better Together 2030 Coalition, the district and Greater IC share a common goal of building a stronger community, and strong public schools are central to that work. We are here tonight to recommend a slate of highly qualified nominees for the Financial Oversight Committee. First, we would like to thank you all for your leadership and willingness to create this Financial Oversight Committee and for allowing us to be your partner in the effort. This important work reflects a commitment to transparency, accountability, and public trust. We would also like to thank the Review Committee members who volunteered their time and expertise: Charlie Eastham from the Board of Education, Pat Moore, ICCSD Chief Financial Officer, Todd Means, Greater Iowa City, Inc. Board Designee from Nicolet Bank, Mitch Lauer, ICCSD Foundation Board Designee from Transamerica, Tara Sturba, Community Foundation of Johnson County Board Designee from South Slope. Tara is here with us this evening, and I want to recognize her and the entire committee for approaching this responsibility with professionalism, thoughtfulness, and integrity. The committee's role was limited to reviewing applications, applying the board-approved rubric, and forwarding recommendations for your consideration. Final selection will be made by you all this evening. Some highlights from the process. One of the strongest takeaways was just how much this community cares about its schools. The application process generated tremendous interest. A total of 55 completed applications advanced through the full scoring process. The committee faced a very challenging task, not because there were too few qualified applicants, but because there were so many. The applicant pool included leaders from finance, banking, accounting, auditing, business, nonprofit management, local government, higher education, and community organizations. Their willingness to volunteer speaks volumes about the commitment people in this community have to public education and responsible stewardship of public resources. Before moving on to the recommended nominees, I would like to take a moment to just recognize all the applicants who may or may not be in the room tonight. Thank you for everyone who chose to raise their hand to serve at this important time. And whether you're ultimately appointed tonight or not, your willingness to dedicate your time to support the Iowa City Community School District is deeply appreciated. The recommended nominees before you tonight collectively bring experience in executive leadership, public finance, accounting, auditing, governance, budgeting, risk management, grants administration, and community engagement. Together, they represent a strong and well-rounded group prepared to help strengthen public confidence in the district's financial practices. I will read the list from the highly recommended nominees, along with a brief biography highlighting their relevant experience. One nominee who was listed in our memo, it should be noted, has since requested his removal from the applicant pool as he does not want to be considered for service. For you all tonight, you may, at any time, choose to select other applicants from the memo that was provided to you. Starting with Jeffrey Albright, has more than 30 years of executive leadership, financial oversight, and governance with a deep personal commitment to the Iowa City community. Professionally, he serves as chairman of Yanmar America and executive director of its global turf division, bringing extensive expertise in financial controls, budgeting, organizational accountability, and board governance. Second, Charlie Funk has exceptional financial leadership experience, which includes 47 years in banking and a long-standing record of service to the Iowa City community. He is the former president and CEO of Midwest One Financial Group. Nicole Knudsen Davies brings more than 25 years of experience in public sector and nonprofit finance, including budgeting, auditing, and debt management. Nicole is the finance director of the City of Iowa City and a certified public accountant, and her team has won the Government Accounting Budget Award for 14 years running. Genevieve Anglin has delivered expertise in financial administration, budgeting, grant management, compliance, and organizational oversight across local government for more than 20 years and is currently the grants manager for Johnson County. Simon Andrew has extensive experience in public finance, budgeting, compliance, and strategic planning, along with a strong commitment to students in the broader Iowa City community. He is the executive director of the Housing Fellowship, overseeing complex financial operations involving multiple legal entities. And finally, Dustin Gui has more than 7 years of experience in financial reporting, analysis, budgeting, forecasting, and risk management at Collins Aerospace. He is a City High graduate and was the third-place state math club champion while in high school. He holds both accounting and MBA degrees from the University of Iowa and has experience overseeing large budgets and supporting data-driven financial decision-making. As Greater Iowa City concludes our support of this process, I think the most important thing to recognize tonight is that this really is a celebration of community engagement. Every application demonstrated an extraordinary level of experience and commitment to our school district. Our community is fortunate to be filled with people who care deeply about our students and are eager to help, and that should give all of us confidence in the future of the district. Thank you again to the board for the opportunity to partner. Thank you to the review committee for your thoughtful work, and thank you to all the applicants who stepped forward to serve. Myself or my colleague Katie Gerlach would be happy to answer any questions you may have about the review process or nominees.
Thank you so much. Just so it's noted, Bradley Francois asked to be removed.
Yes, we received a message to that effect today.
Okay. Do directors have any questions?
I'm fine moving up the next person on the list.
I would agree.
Just keep it consistent with everybody else.
Do we know? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I just wanted to thank you and Katie and Nancy for all the work that you did to bring this to us tonight. Thank you.
I meant to start by saying thank you for all of your hard work and taking this for us tonight.
Yeah, I think I've said thank you so much, but thank you. Do we know if Mr. Orr is interested? I mean, if we went down the list and moved him up, would he be willing to serve?
I called Mr. Orr, and he is very excited at the potential for continuing to serve in this way, and he was on Zoom or listening to the meeting tonight. He intended to call in.
Okay, great.
I just want to add to the appreciation of all the people that put this together, Katie, McKenzie, and Nancy Bird, and many others, I think, as well. So having served on the selection committee, I was really impressed with the amount of work and the vision and organizational capabilities that went into putting this selection process as part of our ongoing financial recovery process. Thank you very much.
Any additional comments or questions from directors on the phone?
This is Jennifer Warren Fraser. I would just like to first start by saying also thank you. I know that this was a huge undertaking and it was done very quickly, but it was also done with amazing communication and thoughtfulness. And I wanted to just say publicly that one thing that I feel very good about, I was very concerned about getting the committee established, and the process that was proposed was a very strong and thoughtful process, and it was followed with fidelity from everything that I could see, and we have arrived at a field of candidates that share, I think, just expertise and strength and commitment, but also some really valuable variety and in terms of the perspectives and background that they have to offer. And so I just wanted to share what I was seeing in this process and what I'm appreciating about the process. And again, say thank you. I'm very glad that we've gotten to this point.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. That takes us to our action items for tonight. And the first one is the policy 504.6 student activity program. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve 504.06.
Second.
Are there any further comments or questions? Secretary Coven, ready for a vote.
Online voting is open.
It didn't pop up for me, so I'm going to go ahead and say yes.
Thank you.
It's there for me, but it won't let me click it. So it might be a frozen.
How would you like to vote, Director Lingo?
Yes, please.
Thank you. All votes have been cast and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Next up is policy 504.06, R1, 8th grade student athlete participation in high school athletics. Is there a motion?
I move we approve policy 504.06R1.
Second.
Thank you. Secretary Coven, ready to vote?
Online voting is open. Director Eastham, yours didn't come through.
Listen, I'm clicking the buttons.
How would you like to vote?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Problem I had too, Charlie.
All votes have been cast and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Thank you. Next up is the 700 policies for non-instructional operations and business services. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve. Motion to finally approve the 700 series.
Second.
Thank you. Secretary Coven, ready to vote?
Online voting is open.
I'm going to be a yes.
Thank you, President Malone. Jane, yours didn't come through.
Oh, I'm yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Director Lingo, how would you like to vote?
Yes. Shows that recorded.
All votes have been cast and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Next up, policy primers or primers. I've actually heard it pronounced both ways, but I pronounce it how it's spelled. But is there a motion?
I move approval of the policy primers or primers as presented.
Second.
Secretary Coven, ready for a vote?
Online voting is open.
I'm a yes vote.
Thank you, President Malone. I think it's just randomly not picking up people's votes. Director Abraham, how would you like to vote?
Yes.
And Director Finch, how would you like to vote?
Yes.
Thank you. All votes have been cast and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Next up is the policy 303.2, administrator qualifications, recruitment and appointment. Is there a motion?
I move approval of the policy 303.2, administrator qualifications, recruitment, appointment as presented.
Second.
Secretary Coven, ready to vote?
Online voting is open.
I'm a yes vote. Why did mine just stop
Thank
popping
you,
up?
President Malone. All votes have been cast and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Sorry. Next up is the fiscal year 27 operations life cycle budget. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the FY '27 operations lifecycle budget.
Second.
Secretary Coven, ready to vote?
Online voting is open.
Yes.
Thank you, President Malone. And we're back to Director Abraham and Director Finch. Director Abraham, how would you like to vote? Thanks.
I'm a yes.
All votes have been cast and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Next up is the interim Human Resource Director Agreement. Is there a motion?
I move approval of the agreement.
Is there a second?
Did Charlie call for the, Director Eastham, I think you meant, did you say approval of the?
That approval.
Yeah, he said approval.
In order.
Second.
Secretary Coven, ready for a vote?
Online voting is open.
I'm going to be a no vote.
Thank you, Director or President Malone. I am looking for Director Eastham. How would you like to vote?
No.
Director Lingo, how would you like to vote?
No.
Director Williams, how would you like to vote?
I'm a no.
The motion was to approve the agreement, and the motion fails with all directors voting no.
So Superintendent Courtmire, okay. She's shaking her head, just knowing that she knows the next step is for a posting for an internal and external position interim.
Correct.
Okay. Next up is the Junior Achievement Memorandum.
Yep, we have the Greater Iowa City.
Oh, okay, fine. Greater Iowa City, Inc. Countywide Work Group request and the appointment of Director Horn Frazier as the representative from the board.
I move that we approve the Greater Iowa City, Inc. Countywide Work Group request with Director Horn Frazier as our board representative.
Second.
Board Secretary Coven, ready to vote?
Online voting is open.
Yes.
Thank you, President Malone. All votes, oops, nope. Director Lingo, how would you like to vote?
Yes.
Thank you. All votes have been cast and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Next up is the Junior Achievement MOU. Is there a motion?
I just wanted to make a comment quick. More to the point that I appreciate you guys coming in tonight. Probably my bigger fear right now is adding on more curriculum to be done. We cut 20 core content area specialists and 25 curricular advocates as part of our agenda tonight. We're going to need to be relying on central office admin more than ever to work on curricular issues. And if the junior achievement just was the stuff that we already have been doing, I'd be fine with it. And so that's going to be ultimately my no vote.
Thank you, Director Lingo. Is there a?
Yeah, I'm going to be voting no along with Director Lingo. Just echoing earlier sentiments about, we really need to watch every dollar, and when we're talking about, dollar amounts of, not this year, but in the subsequent years of $90,000, that is a teacher. So I'm going to be a no for that reason.
Any additional comments? Is there a motion?
President Malone, I would move approval of the Junior Achievement Memorandum of Agreement.
Second.
Board Secretary Coven, ready for vote?
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast and the motion carries with Directors Abraham, Eastham, Horn Frazier, Malone, and Williams voting yea, and Directors Finch and Lingo voting nay.
Next up is the Annual Asset Protection Approval. Is there a motion?
I move approval of insurance premiums as presented.
Second.
Secretary Coven, ready to vote?
Online voting is open.
I'm a yes vote.
Thank you.
Mine will pop up every 10th one.
All votes have been cast, and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Thank you. Next up is the Financial Oversight Committee, and we have 3 different action items that we will take. The first one is to appoint 2 board members to serve on the Financial Oversight Committee, and I would open it up for any volunteers or nominations.
I would like to nominate Mitch Lingo, and I would like to volunteer myself.
So we have Directors Finch and Lingo.
I'm fine with the nomination.
All right.
My background, I have 18 credit hours in College of Business and a certificate from Tippie College of Business and Business Analytics, so it's up my alley.
Great. Any additional volunteers or nominations?
I was going to nominate President Malone.
Thank you. Sure. Yeah, I'm willing. Any others? So Secretary Coven, it's 3 of us for 2 positions. How do we do this?
Well, I'm not sure.
I'm fine stepping down.
I mean, even if we took 3 separate votes, it could end up.
Yeah, we can do that.
No, I'm fine stepping down.
Okay. So then it will be the approval for Director Lingo and myself. Is there a motion?
I move approval of President Malone and Director Lingo to serve on the Financial Oversight Committee.
Second.
Board Secretary Coven, ready to vote?
Online voting is open.
I'll go with a yes. It's not popping up again.
Thank you. Director Finch, yours did not come through.
Oh, I'm a yes.
Thank you. All votes have been cast, and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Next one is the appointment of our CFO, Pat Moore, to serve on the Financial Oversight Committee. Is there a motion?
I move approving Pat Moore to serve on the Financial Oversight Committee.
Second.
Secretary Coven, ready to vote?
Online voting is open.
I'm a yes vote.
Thank you, President Malone. Oh, we got quite a few that haven't come through. Director Abraham, how would you like to vote? Director Eastham, how would you like to vote?
Yes.
Director Finch, how would you like to vote?
Yes.
And Director Horn-Fraser, how would you like to vote?
Yes.
Thank you. All votes have been cast, and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Next up is the approval of the community members to serve on the Financial Oversight Committee. And is there a motion to appoint the recommended list minus Mr. Francois and substitute Mr. Orr into that list?
I move that we approve the recommended list minus Bradley Francois and adding Charles Orr.
Seconded.
All right. Secretary Coven, ready for a vote?
Online voting is open.
I'm a yes vote.
Thank you, President Malone.
Kim, I'll vote yes too.
Thank you, Director Eastham. Director Horn-Fraser, yours did not come through.
Yes.
Thank you. And Director Lingo.
Yes.
All votes have been cast, and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Thank you. That takes us to our final item on the agenda, which is agenda setting. We have our normal standing items with the return of the ICEA
President
update.
Malone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry to interrupt. Can we go back to the Financial Oversight
Sure.
Committee?
Secretary Kim Colvin and I were prepared to be able to name the terms for each of the committee members as designed in the charter. Kim's got a number generator up that we could use and we could make public to show
Yes.
the years 1, 2, or 3 that the community members would be serving. Are you
So-
okay with that?
Yes, and just for full transparency, it ties to the agenda item. If we can add that probably under a committee report, because then that way I'm assuming by the 11th we'll not only have their term limits, but a schedule of meetings. If not, if they've had their first meeting maybe.
So are you saying you'd rather us do it at the next
No, no,
board
no,
meeting?
no. I'm saying you can do it if people are okay with that, and that's just added on to that agenda. We make that.
I'm fine with it as it adds an element of excitement for the people that have been hanging with us for the entire meeting
So
as
do
their
it
reward.
now?
Yeah.
Spin the wheel, I can put it up on the top.
Sure, we could do it now for those that's been hanging out with us. Go for it.
I guess the one thing I need to know is we need to number the applicants, because then the number generator will be 1 through
Just
7.
1
So
through
straight
7,
down, okay,
yeah.
I just want to make sure we're all on the same page here.
Let's have fun.
6, 7, all right. Let me pull it up over here so everybody can see what we're doing.
Thank you, Director Lingo, because I was like, okay, sure. I didn't realize they meant tonight.
Yeah.
Ooh, look
Okay.
at that.
She was
So here-
all ready for this.
So, according to the committee charter, the first 2 numbers pulled will serve 1-year terms. So for the first spin, it will be
Okay, 1-year terms.
number 4, who is Genevieve.
Okay. So funny. Sorry.
And number 2 is Dustin. So Dustin and Genevieve will serve the 1-year terms.
Okay.
And then the next 2 will serve 3-year terms. And that will be Charlie Funk. And Simon Andrew.
Okay.
Which leaves Jeffrey Albright, Nicole Davies, and Charles Orr will serve the 2-year terms.
All right. Congratulations and thank you again to all of our community members that applied and was appointed tonight. Thank you for that almost Wheel of Fortune feel.
Thank you, Kim.
Okay, that takes us to agenda setting. Again, we'll have the normal standing items, but I would like to still see the financial oversight as a committee report, so that way we can maybe see the schedules and we can put that further in our minutes, the year appointments.
So one request I'm going to make tonight is if we can get that committee up and going, we'd really like to do that. So ahead of the August 11th regular board meeting, we do not have a committee meeting scheduled. So we would like to host our first one at 4:30 that night. We're thinking of going from 4:30 to 5:45 for our inaugural meeting. The other thing I would say about that is just a reminder of the open meetings law requirement. And so that would mean that those participants would, all 7 of them will need to have that training ahead of August 11th. And Kim is prepared to share a training link with them.
All right.
I will just let you know that I have a funeral to be at in Alabama that I'll be traveling back, so I'm not sure if I'll be back yet or not. So,
I'm sorry about your loss.
thank you. The one thing for future agendas, I mentioned this at the policy and governance meeting, the oversight, the building oversight committee, when it comes, is it called the building oversight committee for the? For
the
student
dis- yeah.
discipline. This one goes back a while, but I know there was data being compiled from open enrollment and students that were opening enrollment in and out of the school district. I think we stole it from you and your work at your former school district. But I was hoping that there'd be a presentation on that by any chance at some point. And then the other one is not only some sort of technology committee getting up and running, calendar committee, because of the number of discussions in the community about the length of our calendar that every board member has heard from at least several administrators to teachers to whomever it may be, to just having your own opinion.
So a calendar committee update?
Just, yeah, bringing it back online. I don't know when the last time we had, because when we looked at the committee not long ago, there's a list of people there, and there are a lot of people that have retired or have moved on. Sorry to give you that laundry
I'm not
list.
sure of the request. So what are you asking us to bring back in a future meeting?
No, this is not at a future meeting, bringing the
Okay.
calendar committee back together
Just
to look
bringing
at the
the-
length
Okay,
of the school
yes.
year.
So
Yeah.
it's not agenda setting?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. So calendar committee, thinking about the tech committee.
But I mean, it could be agenda setting because we may need to approve a new calendar committee.
The other thing, I'm not quite certain what you mean by the open enrollment report.
Well, we were compiling data from surveys from parents and
On why they were open.
on why they were open enrollment.
Exit surveys. Yeah, exit surveys.
and- yeah. Sorry, thank you for that.
Okay, so does the team have that easily available
Yeah,
for the 11th or for August 25th?
it's whatever meeting it falls into.
Okay.
Talk to the team and see what works best.
Yeah.
For policy and governance, can we add an evaluation policy? Get something in our policies about staff evaluations so that it's in our policies.
So for the next policy and governance meeting,
Or you can, it doesn't have to be the next one, but you can parking lot that.
Got it.
Yep. I'm not sure where this fits, but we've had a request for an itemized list of the positions that were eliminated and the associated cost savings. So I don't know if that makes sense to put that on a personnel agenda at some point. Again, it doesn't have to be the next personnel agenda.
Yep.
And then I don't know if we have the current org chart on.
Yep, we do.
We
It's
do
online.
have it?
Yeah.
It's on okay, perfect, thank you.
I just want to go back and touch on the tech committee point that Director Lingo raised. I feel like there's maybe a couple of different directions that you're thinking there. You were talking about the tech itself, and then about more like instructional approaches and screen time and that kind of thing. And I know that I've been in touch with a number of community members who are very interested in being part of a committee or that conversation somehow. And I know that I was in touch with Directors Proctor and Degner about that recently. And so I think it would be great to just hear an update on that when it makes sense, so that we can let the community know what to expect and how they might plug in.
I thought about the MOU that we tabled tonight for the next meeting, the Project Skyward.
Yep.
Yeah, to
Yeah.
make sure that we have
Thank
that
you.
on the next one.
Go ahead.
Does that, Mitch, you're referring to the MOU about the interim?
No,
HR?
it was the MOU for,
Project Sky.
Project Skyward.
yeah.
Oh, okay, right. Well, then,
Yeah.
is the next meeting too soon to having discussion about putting an interim HR
Amy's
director?
gonna,
Work to
she could
post
prob,
it.
yeah.
We'll work
Oh,
to
you are?
post it and
Okay.
then get involved in the hiring process.
I'm
so-
sorry, Superintendent Corbett.
That's okay. Yeah, I don't know that the turnaround will have a name by August 11th, but likely by the next meeting.
Okay.
Hopefully by the next meeting.
If there are additional items that board members think of, please feel free to forward those on to either Superintendent Courtmeyer or myself or Vice President Abraham. With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.